What you are about to watch is a compilation of all my daily recap and reviews that I am recording for the G1 Climax 34. Basically, every day that there is a show, I record my thoughts and analysis, and I break down everything for each event individually. I know there are some people who like longer form content, who just want to plop something on and just let it go and listen to it as they do whatever else. So I decided to put all of the previous week's recaps into one longer video with chapters and everything. Maybe this is something that appeals to you. I hope you enjoy it, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more wrestling content kind of like this one. Thanks for watching. Let's get right into the show itself. As we mentioned, it was on July 20, 2024, the opening night of the G1 over in Osaka at the Edion Arena. Yeah, well, look, like I said, if you want my general impressions, about the show, I thought this was great. I thought this was a great wrestling show. You can do yourselves a favor and just plop in front of your TV and watch this. It's what, about 3 hours, something like that. 3.5. I don't even know. Like I enjoyed myself so much I wasn't looking at the time. I was just like, let's go, And then, if you want to skip entrances and stuff like that on New Japan World, well, you can. So it makes it even shorter. But I recommend watching the whole show. Like, it was a great way to kick off the program. Let's start with results before we get into the review itself. Oleg Boltin defeated Ren Narita in the B block. A block action saw Callum Newman defeating Shota Umino. Back to B block, Henare defeated El Fantasmo. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Great Okan in the A block. Jeff Cobb defeated Hiroki Goto in the B block. In A block action, Jake Lee defeated Sanada. Yuya Uemura defeated Dave Finlay as we swing back to the B block. Then back over to A block. Evil defeated Gabe Kidd. Semi-main event, B block action, Konosuke Takeshita defeated Ryota Tsuji. And the A block main evented with Shingo Takagi defeating Tetsuya Naito. We're going to get to each and every one of these matches, but this is we start with the results, then we go in deep. And let's go right ahead, starting off with Oleg versus Narita. Oleg, who was debuting his new look, his young lion apparel is gone. He is no longer one of those. He's a guy now, and he's wearing the he's basically wearing the colors, the Kazakh colors, which apparently are a nice shade of blue. Not unlike this t-shirt I'm wearing right now. For those of you who have video, you can like, oh, yeah, maybe it's a little darker, Warren. I didn't say it to you. Who cares? Just give me this, please. And and some gold, some yellow, And he came out wearing like a big animal hat, like the closest comparison for me to explain, to communicate it to you if you're not watching, if you didn't see it, is a Daniel Boone hat. But apparently made from a snow leopard, which is like the Kazakhstani official animals. I'm like, okay, so you're slaughtering your official animal to make gear. I'm going too far here, but it's still very funny. I like the gear. I like his gear looked great. The hat the hat made me snicker. What do you want from me? And Red Narita attacked before the bell. Of course, I'm sitting there going, oh, of course. But Oleg fights back, and Narita cheats. You see the pattern here. He goes to the floor, and Narita works the arm, and he really works Oleg's arm. And despite a few spots throughout it all, Narita is just like, he's impeccable countering stuff. I thought he had a really good showing in this match. F5 by Oleg, gets big reactions from the crowd, followed by the kamikaze for the win. As far as an opener goes, I thought you couldn't have done any better than this. Like, this felt good. It felt dynamic. Felt like both guys really wanted to get a win here, as you should, because it's the G1 and every point counts, right? No, I thought, look, I gave this match 3.5 stars. That's how much I liked this. I thought this was very good. And it was also nice to see that the House of Torture nonsense was kept at a minimum here, like really a minimum. There wasn't any, and no lights going out, no, Yujiro showing up at ringside. He didn't even use his pull-up bar. Narita. He didn't even use the gimmick that he brings to the ring. So to me, that's good. Solid performance by both guys here. And Oleg gets the first 2 points. And commentary pointed out, I'm not going to pretend that I got this amazing stat for you, but commentary did point out that Bolton Oleg is he's on a winning streak. Excuse me. He's on a winning streak. He's won his past 6 singles matches. Now, I don't know if this is setting up a thing. I would like to think probably not. Otherwise my predictions will just all go to hell if Bolton goes on a winning streak in New Japan. But look, a good opener, very good opener, actually. Very, very good opener to kick things off. Then we had, as I mentioned, in the A block, Callum Newman defeating Shota Umino. We talk about Shota Umino cosplaying all these wrestlers. Well, now we've got Callum Newman, who's debuting like new gear as well, but clearly cosplaying Will Ospreay. And look, it's something that, okay, you understand. It's good, right? It's fine. We understand why he's doing this, why he's pulling Oz cutters in the ring and stuff like that. But we're gonna have to tame down these Will Ospreay connections real quick, because then the connections in the minds of fans are always going to be, this is the other Will Ospreay, and he's not as good as, like, who is going to be ever as good as Will Ospreay? Well, yeah, I'm not saying Callum Newman couldn't, but if we keep reinforcing the link, the comparisons are going to be made every time. You know what? Does that make sense? Like, if he keeps looking like Will Ospreay and using Ospreay's moves, that's an inevitable talking point that's going to keep coming up. And it has the potential, the real deal potential, to blow up in Newman's face, because he's not Will Ospreay, and Will Ospreay is one of the greatest to ever wrestle. So, but nonetheless, he gets a crab in early to work Shota's injured back. Yes, what a miraculous recovery from a slipped disc that was diagnosed a month ago. Wow. But this match had some good back and forth. I thought some great pace, explosive bits of offense and sequence, which I was really appreciative of. Newman goes for a Nos cutter, but eats a cutter by Umino. Spanish Fly also by Newman. Stomp to the back follows, and an Os cutter. And Newman gets the win here, so he gets his first 2 points on the board. Isn't it interesting that the new guys, like the absolute freshest meat in this, bear with me here, the absolute freshest meat in the G1 ended up getting wins tonight. Both Newman and Oleg got wins, right? And I can't help but think that's interesting. Anyway, I enjoyed this. I gave it 3.25. I thought it was good. It was pretty good. Certainly had a great pace. Even though there seemed to be a couple of miscommunications at times during this match. There was a couple of spots that happened. And I'm like, well, what happened here? Well, I'll tell you, it wouldn't be the last of the sloppiness tonight, though. But we'll get to that. Next, we have Henare defeating El Fantasmo in the B block. You know, ELP is sad because he lost his friend, because his friend is, you know, going off to wrestle in a warehouse. We think probably not. He's probably gonna show up on TV on SmackDown, right? That's probably right. Nicolao, we're talking about, just in case. Anyway, but the whole gimmick here with ELP, coming back to him, is that his friend is gone and now he's sad, and he's acting like he's, you know, someone, you know, that like someone stole his puppy. And I'm like, come on, man. Like I talked about this on the preview. Like I am a big ELP believer. I still think he has the material to be a really highly placed guy. I think he could be a top guy in this company if they gave him a chance. At least one of the top baby faces, at the very least. You know, because everyone loves him. They really love El Fantasmo, and I think he's got the talent, the charisma, the capacity to do it. But at some point, they have to let go of the, you know, the little shucks type of attitude that they've given him, right? Because this is what happened. Like we're reliving what happened to him when he was kicked out of Bullet Club and didn't have any friends, and he was going around being all mopey, and ELP has lost his way. And I was wondering if that's what we were going to do again throughout the G1. And with how commentary was putting this over, it's clearly, yes, we're going to be doing another, shucks, I lost all my friends type of situation. And because commentary was saying, he has to find his way in this G1, stand on his own. And I'm like, we've been here, we've done this. And I think this shit is holding ELP back. Especially when you see him play the hits. You know, he does this early on in the match. He hits a Tope con Hilo, then the springboard senton into the Lion Salt, which is tremendous stuff, right? And then Henare starts laying in the strikes, though. Beats ELP down and is like demanding some spirit out of him. Who lights up Henare with a lariat, which is fine, but Henare eventually hits the Berserker Bomb, gets a strike exchange, kicks him, and ELP kicks out at one after all of this big offense that he's eating. Super kick by ELP, who then hits his quote unquote his burning hammer, which isn't really a burning hammer, but you know, close enough. And then the Thunder Kiss 86, which always rules. But and he covers, but Henare kicks out. A pop-up Samoan drop by Henare and the Rampage. Liver punch, Streets of Rage. Henare gets the win and scores his first 2 points of the tournament. Really hard hitting, hard work match. I thought this was great. Very good. A tremendous match. 3 3/4 stars. We're well on our way here. And I'm sitting there going, and the audience is into this too. We should mention the Edion Arena, the people in Osaka. Great crowd. They were into this. But then again, you know, sort of ties to this theory that if you have a great show, you're going to have a great crowd, right? I mean, there's always exceptions, but I feel like the exceptions happen much less often than you are led to believe if you listen too much to people on Twitter. But oddly enough, you have a hot crowd. You have a hot show, you get a hot crowd. How about that? Huh. Go figure. A block. Great O'Khan defeated Zack Sabre Jr. No, it's the other way around. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Great O'Khan. What am I talking about? I watched the show. This one starts fast, and Great O'Khan, he picks up Zack on his shoulders and dumps him over the top rope to the floor. And Zack Sabre Jr. is like, all right, come on, big boy. He's on the floor, and he's like, all right, let's go. He eggs him on, gets him into a guillotine on the floor, but Great O'Khan just bursts through the barricade and onto people. Like, you know how they sometimes give people the warning? It's like, move out of the way. You hear the house commentator going, move, or whatever he's saying in Japan. Japanese, and they didn't even give any warning. Like Great-O-Khan just like decided to do it, just bull rush the barricade. And so then they fall into the audience, and Zach, after a bit gets back up and he's like, okay, you want to brawl? We're gonna brawl, and he's like in a fighting stance, like he's ready to go, completely out of the typical element in which we see Zack Sabre Jr. And I thought, oh, okay, this is fun, this is good stuff, and Great-O-Khan was more in his wheelhouse because he's taller, he's stronger, he's more of a striker. He got the upper hand on this one. And the upper hand continues all the way back into the ring when they start dropping each other with takedowns like Northern Light suplex and an Olympic slam and arm drags and Zack Sabre Jr. locks in a triangle, but Great-O-Khan escapes via powerbomb. So Zack here is completely thrown out of his game because his usual submission game is not working. Great-O-Khan just has the power counters to just get the hell out of Dodge on this, which legitimately is the story of the match. Claw hold is applied by Great-O-Khan, which Zack Sabre Jr. fights out, lands a DDT, holds on to Great-O-Khan, and transitions into the Zack driver, the Michinoku driver, of course, to get the win. So something that you don't see every day with Zack, at least recently, if you look at his more contemporary work, Zack winning with a power move instead of a submission, but connects with the story of the match, right? Zack doesn't have it. He doesn't have the submission. The submission game's not working. He's got to go to something else. How am I going to put Great-O-Khan away? Drop him on his head. I mean, I feel that's how you can win most matches. Dropping people on their heads. I thought this was great. 4 stars from me on this one. Really fun. Tremendous. And not too long, right? Like an 11-minute match, right? And so far, all of these matches are like around the 10-minute perimeter. And you're feeling it. And you're feeling this sense of urgency. You're feeling like every match here is important, that everyone wants to score their points. Everyone is wrestling with a sense of importance, and they should, because it's the G1 and you want to score points. You don't want to be playing catch up. You want to be on the board. Like, it all makes sense. So everyone feels like they have a chance, and they're wrestling like they have a chance. And I love this so far. Jeff Cobb defeated Hiroki Goto. A match of big guys, big strong guys who like to throw guys around. Then you have Goto doing planchas. And Jeff Cobb starts landing his big power moves after that and does the standing moonsault. Hiroki Goto does his best to chop Cobb down, and when he eventually does, he gets huge reactions from the crowd. Like the people, they love the Hiroki Goto. Ushigoroshi follows, and they have this great final stretch. They really do. They have this tremendous final stretch where they're trying to land power moves on each other. They're reversing in and out of stuff. And Jeff Cobb does a tour of the islands out of a suplex position for the win. You didn't quite see it coming. That's just good stuff. It's just really, really good stuff. Cobb gets his first 2 points on the board. 3 3/4 stars for me. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, usually I take a break. Sometimes I'll press pause because I don't get up like at 3 a.m. anymore to watch New Japan. I can't do it anymore. So I watch the replays. And sometimes, I'll press pause and then I'll walk around, I'll stretch, maybe take the dog out for a quick walk, But I was like, nah, man, I can't move. I got to sit down and watch I got to watch this from start to finish, right? I hope this is what they do with Cobb. Sub 15-minute sprints, just going in, dumping people, doing the standing moonsault and just braining people. It's like like this was one of the shortest matches of not the shortest match, but one of the shortest. 7:24, 7 minutes and 24 seconds lasted. It was a shorter match than the opener. And that's always how I've envisioned. And you can, if you listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes show on Tuesdays, which you on Wednesdays, well, depending when you show up. If you listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes show proper, you know that I've been pitching for Jeff Cobb to be this type of TV champion, just coming in, a sprint, destroys a guy and moves on, right? This is kind of how, this would be my blueprint. This is how I do it. Not, when I say destroy, not run through a guy like he's Goldberg in the midst of the streak. More like this, where he's just being overwhelmingly powerful. The other guys try to get some stuff done and they're having difficulty. They do get some stuff out, but Cobb always has a power answer to it. And, under 10 minutes, we're done. This is what I want from Jeff Cobb. This was great. And this has its perfect spot in the G1, right? Landing bombs on each other. We're in and out. Thank you. Good night. You love it. You don't have to do 20-minute match to get me compelled and interested in your stuff. You do have to try harder to get me compelled in a Jake Lee Sonata match, though. That I don't know what you could do to get me compelled. Maybe if there's a zany prize at the end, maybe they get, maybe it's sponsored by a body shop, not the body shop, but like cars. And at the end, of the match, whoever wins gets, can get work done on their car. And the president is there with a big check and, all that. That's the kind of thing that would speak to me. I'd be, there's some interesting stakes here. Because, man, I don't know who got excited at the idea of Sonata versus Jake Lee. Honestly, and listen, this is my worst match of the show. No surprise. And look, and I gave it 3 stars, which isn't even a bad match. This was not a bad match. It entirely served its purpose. A sub 5-minute match to establish Jake Lee as a player. Look at what it did here. He comes in, it's his first match. He looks, the charisma vacuum that he is, looking, lanky and dopey like he usually does. And he comes in and he beats up a former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and not all that far removed. It's not as if he, defeated Togi Makabe, who hasn't sniffed a title in like 70 million years, right? No. Sonata was the champion right up till January this year. For most of the summer, well, all of the summer actually, last year, 2023, the fall, and then lost the title at Wrestle Kingdom. Regardless of how you feel about Sonata and Sonata as IWGP champion, regardless, this is still the message that was sent here, and it was purposeful. Jake Lee just demolished a former world champion in under 5 minutes. You tell me that New Japan doesn't understand that they have an uphill battle to get people to care about Jake Lee. Not after this match. You cannot tell me that they're not aware. Not after this match. If they were any more confident, they'd probably set shit out a bit. They probably wouldn't have fed him Sonata from the start. These things are all calculated. We can't sit here and pretend that, it's a randomizer who picked all the positions. They were doing, the Royal Rumble thing in the day where you had the bingo tumbler with the numbers inside and people came out and picked them. We're not going to pretend that this was random. This is calculated. They know what they're doing with Jake Lee here. They know what they had to do. to quell critics like myself who shrug and go and who say the silent part out loud that nobody understands why Jake Lee is in the positions that he is in all the time. Why he's a Triple Crown champion over an NJPW. Why he's a NOAH GHC heavyweight champion. Why? No one understands it. He doesn't draw business. He's awkward. He's boring. No one understands it. Never draw a dime. Never drew a dime and was in positions where he had to draw. And he didn't. Not a blip in business. You know what my favorite part of this match was? Chris Charlton taking the opportunity during Jake Lee's entrance to bury Stephanie Vicaire. Where he said, well, Jake Lee's coming in, you know, Chris Charlton's on this crusade to make sure to he's given us the Jake Lee hard sell on Twitter. And he's continuing here and he's saying, you know, he's counteracting something that Walker Stewart said. And Charlton says something to the effect, he left Noah in the right way. He left Noah the right way and didn't pull out of an advertised match 2 days before the event, kind of thing. He said that pretty. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm very close to the exact quote. I laughed out loud on that one. But that really was my favorite part of the match. Like two of the stiffest. And when I mean stiff, I don't mean working stiff, like stiff as a board, you know. Two of the stiffest, dull as drywall, pro wrestlers going at it. I'm glad it lasted less than 5 minutes. I couldn't have taken 12 minutes of this. What are we talking about? Anyway, shocked. This is the worst match of the night. Again, wasn't terrible. It's just stuff happening. You know what I mean? There's no life to this. And one last thing about Jake Lee, because we'll certainly have other opportunities to go after him during the tournament. What the hell? Why are we putting him in the War Dogs? The War Dogs, you know, who established that they're just, you know, they're unhinged, violent, you know, they're brutal. And Jake Lee is like the softest man alive, you know. He's like, he does his hand gestures and he, you know, minimal movement, minimal passion. Like he does, you know, Dave Finlay has more oomph than Jake Lee does. Like it's such a weird fit. I don't know who thought this was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. But look, you know, I'm going to say this right here so that it's on the record and we'll be able to move on. But Jake Lee has all the he has an entire tournament to win me over. You know, and I'm sure that's high up on his priorities, but you know what I mean? Like he's got a whole tournament to win me over and make sure that and prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And if he does, you know, if I will not hide behind anything. And if he suddenly starts pulling out, you know, 4.5 to 5 star bangers every time he goes out, and there's a complete turnaround, I'm like, I'll be the first to cheer. I'll be the first to be thrilled. I'll say, look, meat and crow. I will eat a hearty portion of crow if need be. I will, and honestly, I hope he does. I really hope he does. But, you know, the little devil sitting on my shoulder is whispering in my ear right now. I can hear him. He's going, yeah, but it's Jake Lee. That's what we're doing right now. Dave Finlay, back over to B Block. Dave Finlay defeated Yuya Uemura in here. Now, here is the match that I was not expecting to be really high about, and I am super high on this match. Like I thought this match was really great, and it's Yuya and Dave and okay. I'm trying to say too many things at once. Per usual, Finlay he brings it. I thought he really brought it in the match, and he goes after Uemura, beats him down on the floor. And Yumera is doing the best come from behind babyface act and it works for him, and people are into him. He's fighting back, does drop kicks and a bulldog, but then there's a superplex by Finlay that cuts all of that off. And then he continues. He gets another heat segment. He had a long one to begin with. He gets another one here. Yumera mounts his comeback, plays the hits, lands a flying crossbody as well. A little back and forth. There's a Uranagi that follows, a Dominator by Dave Finlay. German with bridge by Yuya, followed by a Dragon suplex. The crowd is super loud at this point. Not the loudest that they'll be during the show, but very loud. They're into it. They start striking each other. Big bombs. I'm like, holy shit. And then Dave Finlay buckle bombs Yumera twice and goes for a power bomb, but it's reversed into a Rana, right into a pin by Yumera, who gets like the flash win here to a big cheer from the crowd. And this is the global champion that has been defeated. Technically speaking, the second most important title of the second most important title of the company, right? Yeah, I thought this was tremendous. I'm surprised at how much I love this match. 4.25 stars is what I gave this match. It was well done, super well worked. I thought the guys told a tremendous story with the most basic story alive, in which Yuya Uemura is just the white meat babyface, and the other guy's the dastardly heel. But the pace was good. They didn't linger into these long heat spots where I think Dave Finlay always struggles with, despite the fact that he's supposed to be one of the top heels. When his heel control segments arrive, I find he struggles to do stuff here. Maybe it's because of the time, because again, another match that lasted. I'm shocked. This was 16 minutes. See, I was about to say, it's about 10 minutes, another 10, 12 minutes, because it felt that way. That's how good it was, how invested I was into this match. Look, I got nothing really bad to say in this match. If these matches that I expect less of are all this good, we're in for a treat this year, folks. We're off to the races. Yuya Uemura gets 2 points. Evil defeated Gabe Kidd over in Block A. That was the next match. And here's another shocker. I thought this match was great too. Yes, it is an Evil match, but I thought this match ruled. I thought this was great. I thought the work here was tremendous. And you know what helped out a lot? You know what helped really, to me, put this match over? The crowd. Because they were so loud for Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd over in Osaka. There's no denying it. They were cheering loudly for him the entire match. And when I say loudly, you could hear, like, it was unanimous, and they were into it. And when they were fighting in the audience, you had people pumping their fists, going, yeah, beat him up. This crowd was tremendous, and it did help elevate this match. And I'm sure the guys felt it and gave a little more, because you give a little, you give a little more, you give a little more, well, you give a little more. And this all started before the bell. Like, the official time on this is 10:21, but it was longer than that. They fought way before the bell rang. As Evil was doing his entrance, he got Topikan heloed by Gabe Kidd, who just lit up the crowd, and then does a Norihara moonsault. They go and Evil tries to escape into the crowd, so that's when they fight in the crowd there, and there's it's just wild, and the audience, like I said, super into it. The bell hasn't rung yet, and Gabe Kidd's doing a spot where he's running from one end to the arena to the other. I don't know. We'll never know what he wanted to do to Evil, because Evil just tosses a chair at him, just willy-nilly. Wham! Just throws a chair as he's running, and he's running full force. Like Gabe Kidd, if Gabe Kidd is running, he's not like, it's not it's not a saunter, he's not jogging. He's not power walking. No, he's going in full cardio. It was tremendous. They finally get to the ring and they start fighting. Huge reactions for Gabe all throughout the match. There's a lariat exchange that's won by Evil. Evil is trying to do a ref bump, but it's not working. And multiple times, Gabe Kidd's not falling for it. Dick Togo appears after Gabe Kidd, though, shoves the ref off. The story here is that he's pummeling Evil and the ref is getting involved. And Gabe Kidd, his story, his persona is he's a madman, and his persona is that he gets so heated, he loses perspective, right? He just skews off of the course. And that's what he did here. He was so heated, he shoved the referee. So he caused a ref bump, which allowed Dick Togo to interfere with the garrote. They do the magic killer, and then Evil gets the win with was it the Everything Was Evil? I don't remember. I didn't write it down. So Evil gets his first 2 points of the tournament in a raucous match with Gabe Kidd at which again I rated at 4.25 stars. This was great. It was hard hitting. A solid and a well done Gabe Kidd match. Like a solid, well done Gabe Kidd match. And you know what? This is minimal nonsense from the Dick Togo. I don't know if it's, look, I kind of connect with what happened with Ren Narita, where there was effectively nothing, there was nothing, that was kind of like the usual outrageousness that House of Torture matches have. Here it's just Togo jumping in to interfere and, ref bump. Okay. But we've seen worse. Now, if this is the level of interference that we're going to have from House of Torture matches moving forward, especially in the G1, I can kind of live with this. I'm okay with this. And it makes me wonder if President Tanahashi's 10-point plan, the one where he had mentioned about reducing interference and now he was going to fine wrestlers, and give some kayfabe reasons. But I don't know if this is a direct consequence of that, where it's like, look, we're not going to take it all away because it is ingrained in the act of House of Torture, but maybe not have, a revolving door of interference throughout the match, which can really weigh it down, right? Maybe that's President Tanahashi's doing. I'd be okay with that. So, his 10-point plan is off to a rousing start, if we're honest. Rousing start. Then we get to the semi-main event that was handled by the people over at B Block. Kensuke Takeshita defeated Yota Tsuji. Look, I thought this was great too. I thought this was tremendous, a tremendous match. Takeshita does the rope running flying lariat thing and a Topikan Hilo, and he beats Tsuji on the floor. Tsuji does a top rope head scissors followed by a tornillo. So, harkening back to the CMLL days. Gutbuster and Boston Crab by Yota Tsuji followed. Brainbuster by Takeshita. And then they start just going after each other in the corners. Running knee by Takeshita and a German. And there's a spot where they're setting up something on the top rope, but Takeshita completely slips off. I was like, oh, no. But he seemed okay. Everything seems fine. He got right back up. And they went back up to do the spot again, which was a Spanish fly. So, that was a bit of an unfortunate little sloppy spot there. Takeshita tries to get Yota Tsuji down with a suplex and a poison run, but Tsuji keeps fighting on. They start dropping bombs on each other. Bit of a sloppy second rope stomp by Tsuji there as well. It wasn't a perfect match. He goes for a spear. It's interrupted by a knee strike straight to the face by Takeshita. Does the blue thunderbomb and the spinning brainbuster for the win. I thought, like I said, I thought this match was great. I think, and I give it 4 stars. Because I thought the work was phenomenal. I thought the story was compelling. And you really didn't know which way this was going to go. And I feel like they played that. They played into that really, really well. But I will admit that the match was a little rough at times. The match was a little rough, and the blown Spanish fly spot that they redid, like practically, well, immediately after, kind of, that's a shame. It's one of those where it kind of, wouldn't say takes me out, but it kind of ruins my vibe, kills the mood a bit. I feel like there was this cloud over the match moving forward, but the guys did their best, and turns out their best is really fucking good. just in case you're wondering. But it was incredibly physical, tremendous work. I feel I can't give it under a 4. And I liked it. I still liked it tons, and I still think the work was on par. I think both guys came across as superstars in it too, and in the, the Oxford Dictionary sense, not the in the Oxford Dictionary sense. But yeah, it was a little rough, and I probably would have gone higher if it wasn't for the weird stuff. But here I am complaining that I didn't give a match between Takeshita and Tsuji more. This is the world I'm living in right now, which isn't so bad, when you think about it. I probably, that's it. I probably could have given it more, but there was not with the end result being what it is. But it was fine. And maybe, deep down inside, I was expecting more from these two fine young gentlemen. Maybe I was expecting more. Is that unfair? Maybe it's unfair. Because I certainly am not expecting this level of work from Jake Lee and Sonata, But then again, isn't it also fair to critique someone's work based on the expectations that their body of work creates? Isn't that fair too? You go and see a Scorsese movie. Well, you're not critiquing it on the same scale as a Michael Bay film, or Does that make sense? I think so. Makes sense in my head anyway. So 2 points for Takeshita, who is off to the races here. I think he's gonna have a really good tournament. And one last thing to just connect back to Jake Lee, if we may. One of the things that the Jake Lee Defense Brigade, as minimal as it is, but it's out there, say, it's like, well, look at this guy, he's so tall. And I do agree, and I've talked about it. The guy is tall. And that's something that you cannot teach, as one person once told us. And it counts for a lot in pro wrestling. It's a tremendous look, and you can get away with a lot of stuff with that as well. And it's something, it's physically imposing. It's tall guys in pro wrestling have always had an easier time. But who else is tall? Kinosuke Takeshita. Did you see when he was doing the face-to-face with Yota Tsuji? Yota Tsuji, who in most circumstances, when you see him in New Japan, staring down the opposition, he's looking down at them, but he's looking up at Yota Tsuji. At Kinosuke Takeshita, excuse me. Yota Tsuji is looking up. He's got his eyes poking up there. He's got to lift his chin a bit. He's got to knock that head back. Got to crank back the old neck. A bit. You know, we're not talking like a 6 foot difference here, but a bit. You know, Jake Lee, well, you know, one of the things that make him special is that he's tall. Well, you look, Kensuke Takeshita is tall. And he's very special. And you don't have to sell me on how special he is, because I can see it. Anywho, I promise you, this will not be the Jake Lee hate brigade here throughout this, throughout my daily coverage. Come to think of it, I shouldn't promise that. Between you and me, I don't know. I wouldn't want to commit to something. Wouldn't want to promise you something that I might not be able to upkeep. And then we had the main event where Shingo Takagi defeated Tetsuya Naito. I think this qualifies as a surprise. I think most of us would say, huh. Well, I sure did. I sure went, huh. This was good. This was very good. But look, I can't go 4 stars on this match. I thought this was very good. Tetsuya Naito is a fantastic star. Shingo Takagi is just a proficient professional wrestler, just tremendous. Like, these are 2 top guys, right? It is the most beaten drum. It is the drum. This drum has been beaten on so much that it's starting to sound hollow. Naito he's just physically not in the same spot that he is anymore. And I thought this match was slow. And I do believe that it's not because of Shingo Takagi. And it's a little sloppy at times. And again, it's not because of Shingo Takagi. You know, they're Naito's trying to pull stuff off. You know, his ground game is fine, but the acrobatics, the aerial stuff has always been so ingrained into what he does that it's hard for him to get away from it. And the Destino, man, it is just rough to watch now. And it's something that I don't get excited about. My ass cheeks clench when it's Destino time. Because I'm like, is he going to be able to pull it off? And then I get nervous for him. Because I don't want to live secondhand embarrassment like I did watching this match when he completely fudged one. He completely fudged one despite Shingo fucking carrying him over his shoulder. Like, the days of Naito doing a springy Destino over the guy are done. Like, his opponent is carrying him now. Like, I mean, physically, literally. You know, I don't know what to tell you. And I think this is going to be the plague. Now, do I think that main event Tetsuya Naito might show up at some point during this tournament? Yeah, especially if he makes it further down the line. And look, he's got multiple main events during this tournament as well. So, yeah, there's going to be matches where he's going to show up. Everyone can have an off night. Maybe this was an off night for Naito, but I get it. People tell me he's a vibes wrestler. That's fine. I get it. I know plenty of vibe wrestlers though who have adapted, who have changed what they do in the ring to prey off the vibes as opposed to trying to do stuff that they can't perform anymore, if that makes sense. And the Destino, man, I know The Destino, to me, should be tucked away. He should retire that and just do anything else. It's like he's a guy like, like Chris Jericho deciding that a spinning back elbow was his finisher. Legitimately, Naito could do that. He could do that. But maybe it's a question of pride that's keeping him from doing it, which is absolutely fine. I get it. Maybe it's just a question of him, at this stage in his career, would changing up his finisher would that be a subtle admission that I don't have the physical capacity of doing it anymore? Maybe he's saying, I think that's a reasonable explanation as to why he doesn't do it or hasn't done it or doesn't want to do it, / whatever's the right angle here. But he's not in a good spot to do these Destino things anymore. And I love LIJ and I love Naito, and it doesn't change the fact that I think he's one of the greatest to ever do it. But like this run that he's on right now is so important to New Japan that he has to continue giving at least till January included, the illusion that he can still go, right? At the very least, that he can still perform at a high level. How long did it take Tanahashi to get to that point? I liked the match. I thought it was very good, but we just can't pretend that everything's okay, and shame on us for pointing this out. The reality is that, and if he's in this state versus Shingo, a guy who he's friends with, a guy who is a top tier pro wrestler and who can bring a great match out of anyone, if he's like this with Shingo, I shudder to think of what's going to happen with the other main events when he's with other talented pro wrestlers, but not as capable as Shingo Takagi is, for instance. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how this tournament, this tournament handles Shingo, not Shingo, but Tetsuya Naito. Because Naito has. Because it is a grueling physical tournament. And like I said, he's in a lot of main events. So he's not going to be able to do these 5-minute Jake Lee matches. He's going to be in the 15, 20-minute matches, 15-minute, 18-minute, 20-minute plus matches. For for a good part of the tournament, for a good chunk of the tournament. So I don't know. Look. And then the playoffs, if he qualifies. I think it's okay to be a little concerned. And if he turns around and proves us wrong, that's fine. But if this was not a pattern, we're not just going off the G1 here and going, well, it's just one night. It's happened before. And yes, he's still able to pull out tremendous performances. We've seen it. We saw it in the G1 last year, and we saw it at Wrestle Kingdom this year. A couple of weeks ago, Forbidden Door, I didn't think neither he nor Jon Moxley were particularly high level in that one. Anywho, did I say 3 3/4 stars is what I gave it, and 2 points for Shingo Takagi on that one. So the standings, if we take a look at that right now, not much to say. Bunch of people with 2 points and a bunch of people with nothing. There's nothing to break down in the standings at this point. Yeah, you can see them right here. You can see them right here if you're watching video on YouTube or Spotify. But as it stands right now, there's nothing to analyze, nothing to break down. We'll see how things go over the next couple of days. And what is happening? Well, first of all, before we get too far into that, if you're looking for recommendations on my part, like I said at the start of the show, watch the whole thing. Like, go nuts. It's a great wrestling show. Like for real. Like there is nothing under 3 stars for me. Everything is good to great. There's people that will surprise you. There's some great performances, and it really gets into the spirit of the G1. It makes I finished this and I'm like, all right, let's go. Give me some more. I'm into it. I'm excited. Let's make it happen. So I would just go ahead and watch the whole thing. Now, if you want recommendations, because you're like, well, Warren, I don't have all that much time because I've got, all of this other stuff to do. I have a life, Warren, and I appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. Great O'Con versus Zack Sabre Jr. Definitely. You should also watch Gabe Kidd versus Evil, and Dave Finlay versus Yuya Uemura, and Tsuji versus Takeshita, I think. So yeah, at that point you might as well watch the show. But okay, let's say you only had 2 matches to pick. Oddly enough, I tell you Gabe Kidd versus Evil and Dave Finlay versus Yuya Uemura. That's how wild this tournament has started off. Where those are the 2 matches that I'd recommend for you, as opposed to watch Shingo and Tetsuya Naito. You can watch. It's not a bad match, but it's not a necessary watch. I feel these 2 are a little more, might change your opinion on some people. You might open your mind up to some people. Maybe not change your mind, but maybe open your mind up to some people and their as to what they usually do in their regular performances. How about that? So what do we got coming up tomorrow? July 21st. We're still at Edion. Look at the crowd. If that crowd is anything as like it was today. And you know what? Not only that, great crowd, great event. They should have more tickets tomorrow. They should be able to pack in more people, right? Off of the word of mouth, people hearing about how great the show was, right? Come on, Osaka. So who have we got in the? We'll go block by block. In the A block, we've got Sonata versus Callum Newman. That's going to be opening up the show. We've got Great O'Con versus Gabe Kidd. We've got Jake Lee versus Evil. Oh my God! At least we're getting them out of the way early. Shota Umino versus Shingo Takagi, which I will be very interested to watch, and Tetsuya Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. That will be the co-main event according to the listing. As far as B block goes, Bolton Oleg taking on Henare. We've got El Fantasmo taking on Ren Narita, Hiroki Goto versus Yuya Uemura, and the main event, Yota Tsuji versus Dave Finlay. Where's Konosuke Takeshita? Well, he's honoring a date on for DDT tomorrow. Good on him. I respect that, and clearly New Japan respects that as well. So his B block match will be happening, I believe, on the first night of A block action, so that he's not behind, right? Which I believe is it in Hiroshima? Yes, it is in Hiroshima. He'll be taking on Jeff Cobb on July 23rd, which technically is an A block night, but he's going to they're squeezing him in there so that he doesn't stay behind and it starts breaking our brains trying to figure out who has the points and who's going to advance in all these scenarios. Like 2 years ago in the G1 when they had people not wrestling for weeks at a time. What a disaster that was. Anywho, so let's dive right into it. Let's start talking about this second night of action of the G1 Climax. Once again from Osaka, Japan. Once again from the Edion Arena. According to what I've been able to gather here, the attendance 2,545 people were in attendance. Compare that to yesterday's attendance, which was, reports sort of vary, but let's say about 4,200. I think I had said 4,177. Let's round it up to 4,200 because there's been, just some slightly differentiating reports. That is a 2,000 person drop over one night. Now, I was sitting here yesterday and I was, near 2,000. Okay. Again, close to 2,000. And I was sitting here yesterday and I was, I thought yesterday's show was very, very, very good. I thought it was a tremendous show. And I sat here saying, well, you know what? With such a good show, maybe with word of mouth, it will, if maybe it'll turn into a really good show for today, for night 2, since night 1 was really good. Not much to complain about. Unless you really want, unless Jake Lee comes up on your radar, there's nothing much that you can really that you can sit here and say, no, this was a bad show. It was far from it. So I sat here and posited, hey, maybe this will have a positive impact on tickets for night 2. I guess not. I guess you must never underestimate the power of a really good main event. Which yesterday, one that has the star power. Because yesterday we had Naito and Shingo in the main event. Today the main event was Yota Tsuji and David Finlay. Neither of which are proven main event draws. And maybe the rest of the card wasn't full up of these great main event style dream match, exciting matchups. Because one could argue that in New Japan right now, the exciting matches, the exciting prospects for matches, they're not there yet because they're trying to build up this new generation of people that will create the exciting matchups of the future, even in, over the next couple of years and so on and so forth. So, we're not in an era where it's like, oh my God, Okada and Tanahashi are facing again and at they're still at the height of their powers. Yeah, we're not, and that immediately clicks. We're not excited at the idea of Will Ospreay, wrestling just about anyone. We're not in that era. We're not in that New Japan anymore. When it's like Kenny Omega versus anyone, and that kind of stuff. There's not that level of true excitement. I think if you're into the G1 this year, like I am, it's because you are excited at this G1. It's serving as a blueprint for the future, giving us a little insight into the plans, into the ideas, into the people that the company wants to push moving forward. So again, it's right now it's kind of reflective in this attendance. I mean, that is a massive drop. The Edion, it's not a huge arena, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like Sumo Hall where you're, where if you put like 3,000 people in Sumo Hall, it looks and sounds empty. Now see, it's 8,000 people, but I mean, it's still, a little more than a fourth of the arena you filled up. But again, look, not that I necessarily want to rush to the defense of New Japan and try to make excuses, more importantly, but no one is doing real good in Japan outside of New Japan. This is one of the first years that they've started the G1 off in Osaka as well. So there was a bit of an experiment there, going 2 nights. It was nonetheless a good crowd. Yesterday's crowd was better. This was still a good crowd, but you got to point this out. You got to talk about it. I think it's part of proper interesting, at the very least, wrestling analysis to talk about attendance and how things are going. And 2,000 people, a differential of almost 2,000 people from one night to the other is pretty striking to me. It's pretty striking. And it kind of makes you wonder, on a larger scale, at least in the Tokyo Dome, for instance, over 2 nights as well, how's that going to translate? Conversation for another time. But it does sort of, it clicks here. It clicks something. You don't have Naito in the main event. You could have argued that Zack Sabre Jr. and Tetsuya Naito could have been in the main event. Would it have changed something? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean, the match was still on the card, and it drew as improbably. It drew as it did. Oh, anyway, that's where we're at with the attendance. How about some results? How about we talk results for night 2? Starting with the A block, Sonata defeated Callum Newman. Gabe Kidd defeated Great Okan. Evil defeated Jake Lee. Shota Umino defeated Shingo Takagi, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Tetsuya Naito. And as for B block, we've got Hinare defeating Oleg Boltin. Ren Narita defeated El Phantasmo. Yuya Uemura defeated Hiroki Goto. And the main event, as we mentioned, was Yota Tsuji getting the best from getting the best of, I should say, not out of, but the best of David Finlay. He lost. David Finlay lost is what I'm saying. In the main event for night 2. So let's talk about the matches. Why don't we? Let's go by block. Yesterday, I was listening over to my audio, because I always do. Not always, but most of the time, I just re-listen like on 2 speed and I listen to how I approach things and how I structure things, and I think, and it's not even an egotistical thing. It might be, but it's mostly, myself. I want to be able to go back and just listen to how I handled things. And yesterday I was like, wait, that was a little too scattered, giving results, jumping from block to block. Let's keep it within the blocks. I feel that feels more. I won't have this problem over the next few weeks, because then it's going to be mostly block exclusive nights. But anyway, that being said, we're doing the results block by the reviews block by block. Let's start with block A then, since it opened the show. Like we said, Sonata defeated Callum Newman. I thought this was pretty good, like a good little match. I don't have much. I really don't. I don't have much to add to this. Sonata is just the most Sonata guy on planet Earth, and Callum Newman looked good here. As much as Sonata can be a giving wrestler, like I don't know. Like it was fine. There's Newman gets he does the quick pace thing early on. Drop kick Sonata off the apron, then Sonata dodges a Norihara moonsault that Newman tries to do, and then Sonata capitalizes and magic killers him off the rails on the floor. Back in the ring, we get a Shining Wizard by Sonata, and it just looked like the comfiest Shining Wizard of all time. It looked like someone threw a pillow in a pillow fight. Wasn't tremendous. He then goes for the moonsault after the Shining Wizard. Newman dodges and hits a running knee. They're dodging in and out of moves. I like the final stretch where they're dodging in and out of moves, but then Sonata lands the deadfall for the win. I think we all saw that coming. Getting some heat back after getting crushed by the smart bastard. Forgot to mention that yesterday. The smart bastard, Jake Lee. I don't. Anyway, honestly, I don't have much here. Nothing wrong with the match. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just a good, well wrestled 3-star match. There you go. Sonata is on the board too with his first 2 points of the tournament. Hinare defeated Bolton Oleg. Now this was good and was strong. I really like this. They're doing tests of strength to begin because they're both hard, tough men, and they're just doing these great strike exchanges on each other. Vader bomb by Oleg, who also does the gut wrencher when he swings the guy around, but he only did it 3 times. Now, maybe Hinari is too much of a big boy to be swinging around like that. He did it 3 times, which is still impressive. Don't get me wrong. He's not going, the usual 7, 8, 9, 10 times, but he's not, wrestling a cruiserweight either or a junior heavyweight. He's wrestling, a bigger dude. So that's fine. He hits the kamikaze on Hinari, but Hinari kicks out. Hinari tries to finish him off with the Ultimo, but he can't lock it in because Oleg is a big, strong boy. And this is followed by some strikes and a Streets of Rage by Hinare to close it all up. Fun little match. I thought it was a strong opening. I thought the opening to this match was strong. And I feel like Hinare gave a lot to Oleg. I think this match came across as Hinare being rather, I don't want to say generous, but he was very, he just gave a lot. So I guess that would make him generous. But I don't want to make it sound like, in the entire match he was doing Oleg this tremendous favor. No, Oleg works. It works well. He's a hard worker. So, but I think Oleg came through really good because he got that little extra juice from Hinare just being, very open with stuff. And I wonder if this is going to be the thing moving forward because, Oleg is really, really liked by management. I don't know if you can tell. They really, really like the guy, and I think they see a bright future in him. And so when we were talking in the lead up to the G1 and saying, guys like Oleg, are going to come in, they're going to take L's all the time, or mostly, or all the time. And they're, but it doesn't matter because they've got something to prove. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They're just, they're one of these guys that just has something that they absolutely have to prove, that they want, that they have a spot to earn, that it's not given to them, and Oleg is absolutely one of these guys. And it just so happens management seems to have his back. Like he seems to have the support of the New Japan brass. I mean, if you couldn't tell that Hiroshi Tanahashi really likes him, I don't know what to tell you. So I'm wondering if this tournament will in part be that. Even if he's in losing situations like he did on this show, are the stories, not necessarily the stories, but is the booking going to be for the other guy to give Oleg as much as possible so that he can look really good in the process, so that you never feel like he's losing downward, that he's putting up great fights and he's looking great in the process, because there is a way to win upwards in pro wrestling. Someone should tell that to Jey Uso. Great O'Khan, Gabe Kidd, excuse me. Wait, I screwed it up, didn't I? I said I was going to go block by block, and then I said I was going to break down everything block by block, and now I'm just going in match order for the results. Oh, who cares? Okay, never mind. We'll do it this way again, and maybe tomorrow I'll be into it I'll be focused enough. I'll get the little whatever's missing, in my prep. I'll get it done. Christ, you can't say that I'm not here with you can't say that I'm not here with the best intentions, right? You really can't. Look, in any extent, I forgot to say, like, Henare scored another 2 points. He's up at 4 now, and I gave this match 3.25 stars. Okay, moving on. Great O'Khan versus Gabe Kidd. In fact, Gabe Kidd defeated Great O'Khan here. So the idea was that Gabe Kidd was ready to fight Great O'Khan on his level, which is, a wrestling match. And Great O'Khan was like, nah, brother, if you want to just throw down, I'll follow you. I'll follow you. I want to, I'll fight you on your terms, kind of thing. So they both wanted to do that. And what we ended up getting was, more or less mostly a brawl, which I'm completely fine with. But, at first, Kidd is like, when they open up the match, they're Gabe and O'Khan, they're trying to do the grappling thing, go down low, do some groundwork. But no, this goes to the floor, and it goes to the floor, and actually Great O'Khan goes into the audience, and he's like, "Come on, Gabe, let's do this." Because Gabe was like, "Nah, let's do it. You wanted a wrestling match? Let's do a wrestling match. I'll fight and beat you on your terms." But Great O'Khan's like, "No, let's do it on your terms." And they fight into the audience, and they brawl around for a bit. Here's something interesting. Like, Gabe Kidd he calls out Hiromu Takahashi, who is sitting at commentary on the Japanese side of things, and the English commentary team points out that Hiromu recently has sort of been throwing around like, well, I could challenge for open weight titles, kind of thing. And Gabe Kidd is like, all right, let's go. So, just put a pin in that. We'll keep that in the back of your mind for not necessarily later in this review, but later down the line, kind of thing. This goes back to the ring. They go back outside. Great O'Khan launches Gabe Kidd through a barricade and into some chairs. That was a spectacular visual, not gonna lie. Hell of a bump. Back in the ring for a very short moment as Gabe Kidd suplexes Great O'Khan on out of the ring and onto the floor. They did the spot where they balance, and it was pretty gnarly. And they fight on the floor. They beat the 20 count. And they sort of did a face at each other when they counted to 19. Because they were sort of teasing they were going to go to the count out, but they didn't. So when they got to 19, both Great O'Khan and Gabe Kidd did one of these. Then they ran to the ring. I'm like, okay, boys. And as they hit the ring, they both start dropping Germans on each other. They land strikes, and Gabe Kidd gets the rebound lariat for the win. So Gabe Kidd is up on the board with his first 2 points in Block A. I thought this was very good. I enjoyed this a lot. I don't have a ton of thoughts behind it, but I think it was well put together. It's a match that ended up playing to Kidd's strengths and was actually spent most of the time of the match outside of the ring than actually inside. And this is not necessarily a complaint, because I feel like when they were in the ring, things were tighter. It made sense, and you were sort of like, okay, there's something. Well, not that the stuff outside didn't make sense, but everything just came together a lot more for the time that they were in the ring. And then when they were back on the floor, then it'd get wild and woolly. And then, like I said, when they beat the 20 count and they started dropping Germans on each other, I was like, oh, this is great. It's like, this is fantastic stuff. So Gabe Kidd is on the board. Great O'Khan is not. He is still at 0. Next, we had Red Narita defeating El Fantasmo. Narita attacks at the bell, but ELP overcomes him. ELP, who is very sad that he has no more friends, except I wonder how Jado feels. Wonder how he feels. You know, ELP, you know, going around going, my friends are gone. And he's standing like there, bro, what am I, you know? And so, yeah, so, you know, he tosses Red Narita to the floor, does a plancha, wipes out on a Norihara moonsault because Narita moved out of the way. And then Narita starts to use a chair on El Fantasmo's knee, which of course opens up a weakness for the rest of the match. And it's, you know, I think ELP does a good job selling it as well, being unable to hit his moves, but also when he's doing just like transition-y things, you know, where, you know, he's sort of favoring it. And later on, he's limping on it, as opposed to just like, oh, suddenly he can run again. I thought he did a good job with selling the knee in this one here. But you know, he still did, you know, played the hits. He did a cannonball senton into the lion salt. And then Ren Narita mocks, you know, the high tag that Hikuleo and ELP used to do, and that made ELP very angry, you know. And I'm like, and seriously, like, I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, brother, do you think Hikuleo is going to, you know, have boo-boo face when he starts up, you know, in the warehouse or, you know, SmackDown or whatever? Do you think commentary is going to put over, oh, well, look, he's very sad because he lost his best friend. You know, he left him behind in Japan. No, like, let's just move on. You know what I mean? And this is what I've been talking about when it comes to El Fantasmo. It's like, I think he's so good, but this, you know, aw shucks kind of thing we have to move on. And I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again today. I was kind of fearful that they were going to do he lost his friend, he's so sad, he's losing his matches because he's a sad boy thing throughout in the tournament. And that seems to be what we're doing. Now, this potentially could mean that he's going to have a comeback route. You know, there's usually one in a block that comes from behind and then ends up, you know, either winning or qualifying, depending on the year you watch, right? So the only silver lining that I see here is that he might be in the conversation to move forward into the playoffs for the block, for Block B. But in the meantime, I gotta say, we gotta move on from this very quickly because we're very close to the melodrama, and I am not interested in that in the slightest bit. You know, I kind of hope if you want to stretch it out for another match, that's fine. I'm giving y'all 1 to 2 matches to sort this out because he's got to come back soon and he's got to be fired up and he's got to start, you know, winning matches, throwing people around, being just mad. I mean, you're in a tournament to headline Wrestle Kingdom and you're like, I'm so sad because my tag team partner, you know, got a job thanks to his brother. Just saying. So, Ren Narita gets his first 2 out of this. I gave this match, but I enjoyed this match. Don't get me wrong. I give it 3 1/4. I didn't. Oh yeah, it finishes with after ELP does a Frankensteiner and a Thunder Kiss 86. Ren Narita does an X Factor for the winner, whatever he calls it. Probably the soulless crusher, or something like that. I know he has a name for it. I just don't know what it is. I don't remember. I don't really care. It's an X Factor. It's fine. Well, So Ren Narita gets his first 2 points on the board. ELP still at 0. Block A action happened next, where Evil defeated Jake Lee Probably the match I was least looking forward to of the entire show, and it turned out to be the match that I disliked the most of the entire show. Jake Lee's on a streak. 2 in a row. It was my least favorite match from night 1, and now it is my least favorite match from night 2. And even in Evil's case, I thought Evil was so much better yesterday than what we saw. Like this, look, let's start with the match. Right? And it starts off like everyone's going to be, you know, the Evil tries to get Jake Lee to do the to too sweet him, but you know, he tries to get him to too sweet him because they're all Bullet Club, but then Jake Lee sort of eye pokes both Evil and Dick Togo. I'm like, okay. So Jake Lee, because he's a smart bastard. I don't know if you heard. And it spills to the floor, and Evil goes after him. There's interference from Dick Togo, and which allows Evil to lock in the Darkness Scorpion. And there's a little miscommunication as well between Evil and Jake Lee. So, and then they do the bell thing while Jake Lee has Evil in a submission, you know, where Dick Togo goes and rings the bell, and then Jake Lee thinks he's won, you know, because he's not that much of a smart bastard. Then there's a ref bump, and he gets choked out by the garrote. No, and he chokes out Evil with the garrote, and it goes back and forth. The point here is that he chokes out Evil with the garrote. Then, as the referee's sort of regaining his senses, he tosses the garrote to Evil, and then he falls on his back. He bumps. He takes a flat back, and you know, a bit of a Eddie Guerrero light cheat and steal thing. And I'm like, are we still doing this? No. He probably, you know, he did this to set up the idea that Evil was choking him out because you see, Jake Lee is a smart bastard. But there's full-on interference. Like, there's interference throughout this match, and Dick Togo allows Evil to land the Darkness Falls and win. Like, okay, first things first. Yesterday, I was pondering the idea that, look, the Ren Narita match that he had yesterday against, who was it again? Against Bolton. Had virtually no shenanigans. Like, you know, Narita tried to cheat, right? He cheated, but he didn't end up winning, right? And Evil, his match as well, like, was not laden with interference. I thought he had a really solid match with Gabe Kidd, and you know, I'm still surprised that I was sitting here recommending it to everyone yesterday, but it was very, very good. So I pondered yesterday that maybe Tanahashi is living up to, he's putting his money where his mouth is when it comes to his 10-point plan, right? And specifically in the point where he said that he was going to cut down on interference, that he was going to make sure that transgressors would be fined and whatnot. Which I always thought was kind of a kayfabe kind of way to address it, but then I was like, oh, maybe that's what. But look, I look at what happened today, and I'm like, all right, no, we're still in the same boat. We're still chugging along with House of Torture, doing absolute garbage, and I don't know what to tell you. And on top of that, then you have Jake Lee, the smart bastard. I think this was the story of the match, to establish the fact that he is a smart bastard. Well, he got suckered into a couple of things. I don't know how much of a smart bastard he really is. If he's fallen for the most, if the tricks he tries to do aren't landing and he gets suckered in by Evil, well, you know, who's the smart one? Who's the smart bastard now? Jake Lee. And beyond the fact that, you know, people say Shota Umino looks like he doesn't want to be there, you know, like he seems always uninterested and aloof you know, that he could be doing anything else right now. That's the impression he always gives or often gives. Jake Lee is exactly that. What people pin really hard on Shota Umino is actually happening in the case of Jake Lee. I swear, folks, I do not understand, and I am continuing to keep an open mind. I want to be able to see what others see in this circumstance. There's not many people in my circles that can articulate a proper Jake Lee defense. Most of the time they're like, yeah, we'll concede that. Yeah, we'll concede that. Yes, we'll concede that. But he's tall. That's usually it. And the people who do stick up for Jake Lee in my circles usually are, they're memeing. They're just making jokes. And this all despite the fact that I have Jake Lee going all the way to the block finals. Because I recognize that that management likes him, that New Japan likes him. Like, they had him beat Sonata in less than 5 minutes last night. Former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Sonata in less than 5 minutes. Don't think that wasn't significant. Anyway, that's enough Jake Lee chit chat for now. We're going to do that a lot more throughout the course of the tournament, so we'll save some for later. Back to Block B, Yuya Uemura defeated Hiroki Goto. I thought this was just friggin' solid. Goto is in there being the veteran who's got a chip on his shoulder, who's tired of all these kids coming in and all this talk about the new generation, and he wants to, he just wants to screw people up. And he comes in, I might be exaggerating. No, but he comes in here saying, I'm going to teach you a lesson, kid. That's how this match felt like. It felt like, the sensei sounds better. That sounds right, actually. This match was the sensei, teaching his prize pupil a lesson. That's how this came across as. And Uemura just fighting from beneath, does what he can, and then all of a sudden, he eats an Ushigoroshi out of nowhere, and they have this tremendous chop exchange at some point, big lariat, and a GTW by Goto. Uemura takes Goto down with a huge headbutt, and then lands the deadbolt suplex for the win. So, good, strong showing by both guys here again. And Uemura, I thought looked really good and was very good in this highly physical match. And I'll tell you what, Uemura, I sneakily here right now, is showing off these tremendous, and I mentioned it yesterday, but I think it bears being underscored here specifically, even more so today. His white meat babyface chops here were on display. They were full on display in this match, where he's fighting from beneath and he's rallying the crowd just with his expressions, with the offense that he's trying to do. But, the other guy always comes over and manages to get one over on him. He's really coming into his own. And I think this is a good sneaky detail that I don't know if it's intentional or not, if they're trying it out. All I know is that it's working and the crowd is into it. Like this might be his lane. This might be his thing, where he's the guy who fights from underneath. He might be that kind of babyface. Why not? It works. It works for him tremendously. And he got another 2 points. He's 4 points up on the leaderboard right now for Block B. 3.5 stars for me for this match. I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Next match we had was more Block A action. Shota Umino defeated Shingo Takagi. And look, I was kind of surprised by the result. I was surprised by the result. I thought after Shingo's win yesterday that we were maybe going to see a rampage from the rampage. I'm not going to do that. But I thought that he was that they were lining it up for a couple of consecutive wins, coming off strong after beating the champ, kind of thing. But no, they decided to give one to Umino here. This one starts up fast with some strikes, and Shingo drops him on the apron, trying to take advantage of his injuries, his hip injury, his back injury. Umino fights back, lands a slingshot DDT on the apron. And Shingo fights back as well, lands a snap suplex right in the buckle. I really liked it too. Folded. Umino ended up, when he landed, he ended up folding over himself. That was good. Avalanche Exploder suplex by Umino. And a superplex by Takagi. A torture rack by Takagi as well follows. That was just basic stuff. He's working the, making sure that we all understand that the Umino's back is an issue. His hips are an issue. And I mean, look and listen. The idea that, that Umino, and I'm not discrediting. Hang on, I'm trying to say too many things at once. It happens at least once an episode, right? I'm not trying to discredit the idea that, well, yes, I am kind of trying to discredit the idea that Umino was injured. What am I talking about? Why am I putting on kid gloves here? I still kind of think that the slip disc and the broken hip thing was a bit of a work. I remember not that long ago, a wrestler in New Japan telling us, that he had that it was reported that a wrestler in New Japan was wrestling with some slip discs. And everyone I had talked to who had once had a slip disc was telling me straight on, if that guy has a slip disc, he would not be doing a fraction of what he's doing right now because he would be in constant fucking pain. And here we've got Shota Umino, doing his offense, doing superplexes, and I'm supposed to sit here and believe that, he's coming back from a slip disc. A month or so after it was announced. Look, all I'm saying, I'm not saying that it's an absolute work 100%. And I know he had the very specific x-rays, right? And I'm like, sometimes I find it weird that wrestlers share their x-rays. Sometimes I find it's a little weird. Just maybe it's because I've been at this for, well, not at this specifically, but I've been watching pro wrestling for so long and being, reading and keeping up with stuff and, dirt sheets and news sites and all of that. But pro wrestlers, they're professional liars. They're going to do whatever it takes to make you feel something for them, get themselves over, or, just create a narrative around them that benefits them in some way. And I think there is a benefit for Shota Umino to craft a narrative around the fact that I'm coming into this this tournament and I might be a little hurt. I might be fresh off and I think, back issues is a good, it's a good injury to use because it can be applicable on pretty much everything you do as a pro wrestler, where it's like, oh, he tried to do a drop kick, but his back. Oh, he tried to do a superplex, but his back. Oh, he tried to do a DDT, but his back. Like, you can apply that on everything, So it's a kind of a good catch-all kind of injury. But outside of Shota specifically, when wrestlers share X-rays of their injuries, I'm always naturally dubious. I'm like, is that really, like, between us all? I always, I use Google Lens every time, or back in the day, I would do a reverse Google image search to make sure that this was not just yanked off of a a Facebook page, off of someone, and because in this business where you usually everything is so typically opaque, like you don't, the curtains are pulled tight even today, even though kayfabe is dead, and even though social media makes things a little more open, there are things that happen that no one knows about, that have not been reported, that will never be spoken about in a public forum. So I find it strange that wrestlers would be so comfortable putting out X-rays of their injuries, of their broken bones. Why do you need to confirm to me so hard that you are injured? Again, this is just maybe because I have wrestling brain in these types of situations. And maybe some of the wrestlers just do it out of pure good faith. And I think it's different than from them posting pictures of them, recovering from surgery. Or from surgery or from an injury, like with a cast in their hospital bed, or just waking up from surgery. Like, that's different. Those are two different things. Just a straight up picture of X-rays, to me, is like, man, what a hard sell. What are you trying to tell me? What's really going on? Maybe I'm just too distrustful in that regard. But I think, if Shota Umino is kind of working his injury, it's good for him, because he turned into a talking point. People were worried that he wasn't going to be able to make it, so that keeps a little buzz, a little flame, right? And then he releases the video on New Japan World, not New Japan World, on the ex-formerly Twitter thing, where he announces the day before the press conference, or 2 days before the press conference, I'm going to make it. And like, oh, isn't that convenient? It's a nice little narrative he's constructed for himself, and then it's a nice little narrative they can use in the ring. That's all I'm saying. It's not this great big conspiracy. It's not something extremely evil and awful. And I've seen it before in pro wrestling. I just get naturally on the defense when pro wrestlers do this kind of stuff, because I'm like, okay, what's really going on? I get naturally suspicious. So maybe he did get really injured, but I cannot imagine him wrestling with slip discs, or having a slip disc that got better within a month, unless there's this new super serum that exists that they just inject into the spinal cord, and your spinal cord, remains, keeps its integrity, but, suddenly is like jelly, so it can do things that it doesn't usually do without causing pain. I don't know. It's weird. I spend too much time ranting about this. Anyway, so they're Shingo's doing the torture rack. That's what we were talking about. He does a Noshigami made in Japan. Shingo did the Takagi driver 98 yesterday, and today he's bringing back the Noshigami. It's like Shingo's bringing back all the old school moves here. He's digging deep. Cradle DDT by Umino. What would you call the Noshigami an old school move? I think he was still doing it about a year ago. Maybe it's not. But look, moves he hasn't done in a while. I don't remember the last time he did the TD 98, honestly. Umino mounts his comeback Blaze Blade, and shortly thereafter, a snap Death Rider gets him the win. I was a little surprised, I'm not going to lie, but this was good. Kind of expected more out of this, and I sort of touched on this yesterday, and I'm going to circle back to that. But I kind of expected more out of these two guys, and especially Shota. Because he's one of these young guys that's supposed to carry the company, and I don't know. I think I saw people very low on this. Cage Match gave this a 7.32, which I think is fair. I gave this 3.5. Like, again, like I'm gonna sound like I'm bummed out, but I like the match. I gave it 3.5 myself. But again, it's like I feel I should be getting more for my money out of a Shingo Takagi Shota Umino match, or maybe they were straight up told don't steal the show. But it's still weird. There was a show. No one stole the show. Anyone could have just like performed the heist here and steal the show. It wouldn't have offended anyone, really. But yeah, I expect more out of this. I expect more out of Shingo because it's Shingo, and I expect more out of Shota because he's one of the three, and he's supposed to be one of the guys who carries the company, and they clearly like him. Maybe there's other stuff going on that we're not privy to. I don't know, but he did get a win, so that's significant. That means something. He got his first, so he gets his first 2 points. He being Shota, so he's on the board. Shingo stays at 2. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Tetsuya Naito. I really like this match. I thought this was kind of great. I thought this was very, very good. And they're doing close surprise near falls early on, and Zack Sabre Jr. gets the submission game going. Naito works the neck. Of course he does. They go to the floor. Naito does a hanging neck breaker. Back in the ring, he does a big Esperanza on Zack. Just, perfectly executed. Great, fantastically sold. And I'm looking at this to continue on my conversation from yesterday. I'm like, why isn't this his goddamn finisher? Like, you're dropping someone vertically on his head. There we go. We're good. Then Naito, after the Esperanza, gets twisted up into some Zack Sabre Jr. submissions, who also lands a PK. Naito reverses out of a move with a Destino, but doesn't do the cover. Zack driver follows, but Zack Sabre Jr. can't cover either. His shoulder, like all this upper part, is hurting because Naito's been working it over. And then he gets clobbered by the short arm elbows. Big series of near falls that leads to Zack Sabre Jr. getting Naito into a clutch and getting the 3 count. Clean as a whistle. So like I said, this is a 4-star match for me. And the Destinos look good, but I think, he had the kind of opponent that can help out quite a bit. Zack is a hyper-aware pro wrestler. He's very good at what he does. So I think there's some of that. It makes me wonder, this match happening here. Well, first of all, Zack pinned the champion. And not only did he pin the champion, but he immediately ran out the ring and went straight for the IWGP World title and started parading with it, right? And walked right up to the hard cam, went through the audience, walked right up to the hard cam and posed with the title, right? He wanted to make sure that this was a reality, right? That's very interesting to me. Because if you listen to my preview shows, because there are 2, you can check them out, they're out there on the MrWarrenHayes Show podcast. One of them is on YouTube only, by the way, just so you know. But nonetheless, if you listen to those, and if you know where my brain's at with the G1 this year, this match right here was my Wrestle Kingdom vision. Tetsuya Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. in the Dome. And I've expressed multiple times why I think Zack might be the guy. And there are Because I think he's one of the guys who can make sure that Naito has Naito has a good to potentially great match. If Naito is ready to show up as well, it goes both ways. But Zack can contribute, and Zack in the Dome could be a fresh, alternative to whatever we've seen. He's never main evented a Wrestle Kingdom show. He'd be in there with Naito, who's got a main event. He's, the biggest draw the company has. But, without putting up one of the young guys who are still, the crowd is still warming up to, clearly, because you put Yota Tsuji in the main event here tonight, 2,000 less people decided to come to the show than yesterday. I think that's significant. So, maybe you do want to hedge your bets on that. Maybe you want to hedge your bets on someone who's been around for a while, who the audience already knows, who can pretty much guarantee that the match that we're going to get is, the floor is like 4 stars, right? Who's not one of the young crop, but is fresh enough to feel new, if that makes sense. That's where my head is at. So when I saw that this match was happening, I was very curious to see how this was going to go down, because I'm like, well, if this is the Wrestle Kingdom match, they can't do everything here. They're not going to lay it all out here. But as expected, Zack and Naito had a really good match, a great little match that they had. I'm going for, just because, I can't go 3.9 because you know what I mean? Because I want to stay on the quarter stars, but I think it's a higher 3.75, a high 3.25 star or a low 4 star, if that makes sense. So I was curious to see how this was going to go. And I was thinking to myself, well, is this like a test, right? Is this a test? And now that Zack Sabre Jr. got the win, because I wasn't expecting Zack Sabre Jr. to win. I was expecting him to win the G1 to get his title shot against Naito. So now he has a shot at the title pretty much anytime. So does Shingo as well. So I'm sort of curious. I'm curious to see what the next steps here are, and seeing Zack make such a big deal out of the belt after, going straight for it, posing. I'm like, hey, are we trying something out here? And I liked it. I like this kind of stuff. And it's not above Zack Sabre Jr. to do this kind of stuff. It's perfectly in persona. Makes perfect sense. I don't hate it. And to me, I'm like, yeah, this kind of works. This works for me. So I don't know. I'm still very confident, nonetheless, with Zack Sabre Jr. winning. And I think they had I think that, look, if this was a preview or a tryout match or a let's see what we could do at the Tokyo Dome, let's throw the foundations down, brother, we're in good hands. I gave it, like I said, a 4-star match, and Zack Sabre Jr. scores another 2 points, so he's up to 4, and Naito's still at 0. Of course, the question will always be, well, not will always be, but right up until we do get there, can Zack draw? But can Zack draw if Naito was there? But Naito was on this card with Zack, and they still lost in the semi-main event, and 2,000 people decided to stay home. So whose fault is this ultimately? You could look at that and say, yes, the main event was Finlay versus Tsuji, but we still had a potential Tokyo Dome main event in Zack Sabre Jr. and Zack Sabre Jr. and Tetsuya Naito, and it didn't generate interest, regardless. So maybe the Japanese audience isn't as into it as I am. And then finally, Yota Tsuji defeated Dave Finlay. Starts off this match going all lucha libre. Finlay just wants to piss him off. He spits on him. So how does Tsuji respond? With a stinger splash. Finlay fights back. Does a suplex. Tsuji gets back in control until Finlay drop kicks him off the apron, lands a Dominator as well. Tsuji fights back with some stomps and a huge knee strike and the Falcon Arrow. Finlay interrupts a spear attempt and lands the Into Oblivion move. Finlay fires up, buckle bomb and a power bomb. They're throwing everything at each other. Then we get the Gene Blast, followed by the Marlowe Crash. His jumping, his stomp off the ropes, off the turnbuckle, right? The Marlowe Crash. Terrific match. Terrific hard-hitting match. Great stuff. I like very little notes about it. Other than I was kind of hoping for another gear, but I'm very satisfied with this match. Was it a tremendous main event? Well, no, probably not. I still give it 4 stars. I thought it was very good. I thought it was a great little main event. Was it, again, is it going to set the pace for the G1 moving forward? No. But I'm sitting here with 2 nights in a row where I've got David Finlay on some of my top-rated matches. Shocking, I know, but here we are. And look, Finlay is one of the guys that I had talked about in the preview where he may be one of these guys where he's, he's not that old guard and he's not the young guys coming in. He's sort of sandwiched between, and he's like, look, I'm struggling for this spot already. If it's time to show up, I'm going to show up. If this G1 is about staking a claim on stuff, well, here we go. Let's do it. But in the meantime, he still has 0 points, and he is the global champion. Boy, that Nick Nemeth, run sure shook him. Got him shook. So as far as recommendations go, I mean, I'm not as enthusiastic as I was last night, and I don't feel like, look, the 2 best matches on the show were the top of the card. But even then I'm like, you can skip these. But if you can skip these if you want. But if you want to sit down and like, no, I'd really want to watch a little bit of the G1. Well, do Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Yota Tsuji versus David Finlay. Those were the 2 best matches on this card, which I thought was okay. I don't think it had that spark, that sense of urgency, that night 1 had. Wasn't bad. Wasn't like suddenly I'm feeling like everyone is mailing in the effort. Hopefully that won't happen until, night 6 or something. Which is usually when we start getting into the dog days, right? But those would be my recommendations. That's what I'd go for. But in fact, I'd tell you, well, if you just want to sit this one out, that's cool too. But if you absolutely just want to, dip your toes, keep your lips moist with a little G1, then go ahead and dip your lips into those 2 matches. Oh, but Warren, you did not talk about the Kanuski Takeshita on this show. Well, that's because he wasn't on the show. That's an easy one. Because he was wrestling in DDT. He was honoring a date last night. New Japan accommodated that, so the So the Jeff Cobb Konosuke Takeshita match is going to be happening tomorrow, I believe. We'll check the schedule in a second, but yeah, we're gonna nail that one, get that one out of the way before the next showing, before the next time B Block shows up, is what I'm trying to say. As far as rankings go, Evil and Zack Sabre Jr. right now are at the top of Block A with 4 points apiece. Of course, there's the log jam at 2, but I think, interesting to note that Great Khan and Tetsuya Naito are both still with the goose egg. I think it's interesting to note at this point. On B Block, we've got Yuya Uemura and Hinare up there with 4 points. Everyone else with, and then a whole bunch of people, not everyone else, but a whole bunch of people with 2. You'll probably be able to add either Konosuke Takeshita or Jeff Cobb at the top of the list, at the top of B Block, because we still have that match. So there's one match still that hasn't occurred in B Block, so the standings aren't as precise. We'll get we'll get those good final standings for B Block tomorrow, right? Isn't it tomorrow? Let's take a look at the schedule. Let's break that down right now. July 25. I'm saying tomorrow, but it's July 23, which is going to be on Tuesday. There's no G1 tomorrow, July 22nd. So I've been saying tomorrow, but I meant Tuesday. So from the Hiroshima Sun Plaza in Hiroshima, it will be Jeff Cobb and Konosuke Takeshita on for B Block in what otherwise is going to be just an evening of A Block action. So we're going to move into that pattern, not for the rest of the tournament, but for a substantial amount of the tournament, where it's just going to be block exclusive action. So on the 23rd, we're going to get Block A matches, Callum Newman versus Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. should continue to solidify his place at the top of A Block with that. Shingo Takagi versus Great Khan, Shota Umino versus Gabe Kidd. Oh boy. I forgot to mention when Gabe Kidd finished the match and cut his promo on, an in-camera promo to Shota Umino, and he was saying that he hates him, and called him a slime. He called him slimy and other qualifiers. A few other adjectives followed as well. From what I understand, there is some legit bad blood between the two. I'm into it. Like, if this means that these guys are going to hit each other a little harder, if it means that these guys are going to kick each other a little harder, they're going to drop each other a little more on their heads. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. I think it's fine. Let's go. Personal issues are always good in pro wrestling. Trust me. So that's going to happen next. That's going to happen on Tuesday. I'm very excited to see that match. Sonata versus Evil is not one I'm actually necessarily excited to watch. Nor am I excited to watch Tetsuya Naito versus Jake Lee. So there's Block A on Tuesday, I feel is going to be a little rough. Just looking at the lineup here, I think it's going to be a little rough. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll shock the pants off of us. After all, Konosuke Takeshita's on the show, and I'm telling you, this Umino Gabe Kidd match might have a little extra oomph to it. I don't know about the rest, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in just a couple of days. Use an analysis, and on top of that and everything. Why don't we just get to it? We had the icebreakers over the past couple of days with the first 2 nights, so we got, we started getting our groove on, started getting back into the swing of things. Now we're swinging, we're going hard on night 3. Night 3, which, in my opinion, so far, we're only 3 nights in, right? But nonetheless, I feel like night 3 is the most uneven of all 3 that we've had so far. I thought night 1 was great. I thought night 2 was very good as well. Very solid evening of wrestling. Here, I'm like, okay, might do some back and we might. There's a little back and forth here, which I think keeps it overall not as interesting as the last 2 nights. Now, are we just booking the uninteresting matches to get those out of the way, which is absolutely fair? I am absolutely okay with that. Maybe, that maybe that's the strategy. Cause, look, the matches on this card that you thought were going to be, turned out to be very much, but we'll get to those individually. Let's start with the results that we have here from the Hiroshima Sun Plaza in Hiroshima. I will not be covering the undercard, the non-G1 matches. They will not be covered here. Just so you know, in case you're new here, I haven't been doing it for the past couple of years. We really focus on the tournament here, not the shenanigans that happened beforehand, not the undercard matches. I know the undercard matches sometimes advance stories that can impact what's happening in the tournament itself, but I'll let you know as we go along. You all want to hear about the tournament and the matches, and honestly, so do I. I want to talk about them is what I want to say. I mean, because I watch, I want to hear about it. I also want to hear about it. I want to hear what y'all have to say. You can leave comments and join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description if you want to come in and chat about it. Like, of course, we wanted this to be as much of a two-way street as possible. So I do want to hear about it. Ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. But we're sticking to the G1 matches. So as far as that goes, we had one Block B match, which was a make-do because, as you all know by now, Konosuke Takeshita was wrestling in DDT at the Peter Pan show on Saturday. So this was the make-do for honoring that date. So one B block match and everything else was A block. Konosuke Takeshita defeated Jeff Cobb. As for the A block, now Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Callum Newman. Shingo Takagi defeated Great O-Khan. Gabe Kidd defeated Shota Umino. Evil defeated Sanada. And Tetsuya Naito defeated Jake Lee. These are not the right notes. These are Slammiversary notes. What are we doing here? Okay, there we go. Let's get right to it then. Let's start breaking down these matches with Takeshita defeating Jeff Cobb. I thought this match was tremendous. I thought it was really, really fun. Very, very, very good match. You know, what you have here is just two guys, two big dudes coming together, deciding to, plant each other as hard as possible with the biggest power moves possible. What else could you want out of pro wrestling? Like, sometimes the most basic stuff works, and when it's done with two very talented pro wrestlers, Jeff Cobb is great. Takeshita is one of the best wrestlers on earth right now. I would argue that he's in the top 10, right? Yeah, sure. We can have that argument another time, though. Let's stay on focus. And they're just doing power moves. And when you do it with these two guys here, is what I was saying, right? That's circle back, Warren. When you're having such a simple match with two extremely talented guys, this is what you get. You get something absolutely tremendous that blows you away. This is so much fun. And it feels big and it feels impactful. It's the G1. And that's how all matches should feel. And we're doing this tremendous pounce early on in the match, right? That Jeff Cobb does to Takeshita. Takeshita, who just sells it. Like, Willow Nightingale's watching this match and is like, man, I wish people would sell it like that all the time. I wish they'd sell my pounds like that. Of course, Takeshita's flying, gut wrench suplex by Jeff Cobb, superplex, I mean, by Jeff Cobb, which is answered by a true to form top rope superplex by Takeshita, and who follows with the poison rana. Big lariats by Cobb, German with bridge by Takeshita. Jeff Cobb follows up with a spin cycle Uranagi, blue thunderbomb by Takeshita, and then they start striking each other, and Takeshita does the spinning suplex deal for the win. I can't remember. It's something fire, right? It's mega fire, blast fire, fire blast, mega fire blast. It's something like that. Whatever. But so Takeshita, as expected, moves forward with 2 more points on the board. This was a blast. I love it when the tournament when tournament matches start off with these types of matches where I'm just going, all right. This is what I signed up for. This is why I want to do daily audio and video, right? This is exactly why. Then we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating by the way, I gave the 3 3/4 stars to Cobb and Takeshita. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Callum Newman. I thought this was very solid. I thought it was good. There was just a little something missing to really get me into it. I don't know if I was just like completely, that I had hit such a high early on that this one felt like a cool down match for me. I'm not saying it was a cool down match. I said it felt like that. I don't know if it's on me or not, but I mean, the work here was very good, and Zack Sabre Jr., not unlike who was, I'm drawing a blank here, but Zack Sabre Jr. was very giving to Callum Newman here, right? And I feel like we talked about that not too long ago with, was it Sonata? I feel, when he was wrestling Callum Newman. Like, Zack gave a lot here. And Zack, again, was not the master of his game here. I think the story they're telling with Newman here, and it started in the play-ins, right? And we're moving forward towards this, and it's that he's on the cusp. Like, he's this great talent. He can hold himself in the ring. He's not a J-Brone. He's not someone that you can push over very easily. He can hold his own with some of the top guys in the company. And, that was the case with Sonata, and it is the case with Zack Sabre Jr. as well. Oh no, I remember now. It was Zack Sabre Jr. who on his, he had a match a couple of nights ago where he was very giving, right? Looking through my notes here. Yeah, it was with Great O'Khan, where he gave a lot to Great O'Khan. And now here, he's back again. Like, he wrestled Naito on night 2. And now he's back here again. And he's given a lot to this young kid. So I think it's fairly obvious that New Japan sees a lot in Newman, and they want to give him as much shine as possible. This is going to be his establishment party, right? This is where he comes in, does what he needs to do so that he can get some shine, so people will get excited about him, so that he can earn a spot in bigger things moving forward for New Japan. And I thought that he excelled here again. And I also thought Zack Sabre Jr. gave a lot. Like, a guy in his spot doesn't need to do that. But there he was, just feeding so much into, feeding Newman so much here, which, again, is tremendous. And, you remember, I mean, if you've been listening to my stuff previous to this, you remember when they announced the play-ins and whatnot, and I was sitting there going, well, this is all great as long as, the guys who come in or the guys who are left out are the schlubs who didn't put in any effort or weren't there to deliver good matches anymore, good to great matches. The Yujiros, the Yanos, and so on and so forth. And I was saying, well, yeah, if the play-in will be successful, if the new guys come in, and there are no nights off, essentially, there's no match where you get an easy night off where everyone is always working, and this is what Callum Newman has been doing. I thought this was very good, and he throughout the match, he keeps Zack Sabre Jr. on his toes, keeps him out of his game, out of his submission game. Towards the end, Newman gets an octopus in and lands a code red. Zack Sabre Jr. then, following that, wraps him up into a submission. Newman tries to, and Newman at this point was pretty much in control. He had been in control for the majority of this match. He'd been in control for a substantial portion, having counters, hitting moves, hitting kicks, and when Zack Sabre Jr. when he hits the code red after the octopus and then gets wrapped up into the submission and from Zack Sabre Jr. and then taps, you're like, whoa, that really came out of nowhere. So if anything, this established two things, right? Of course, Callum Newman again having another very good match, another good performance to continue to establish him as a guy who has potential for the future. But then Zack Sabre Jr. coming in and being like, yeah, but I can make you tap at any given moment. Yeah, that danger, that looming danger that Zack Sabre Jr. has had for a long time, but just making sure that it's fresh in everyone's mind that Zack can turn the tables around in an instant, right? I thought this was very good. I thought it was very good. And as I'm talking about it, I'm going to raise my star rating. I gave it 3 and 3.25 star, but I'm going to bump it up to 3.5, 3.5. This is good. Zack Sabre Jr. now has 6 points on the board. Callum Newman still at 2. Has not won a match since his the opening night of the G1. Then we had Shingo Takagi defeating the Great O-Khan. I really liked this too. I thought this was tremendous, and I gotta say, Great O-Khan in this tournament so far has been phenomenal. And this is something else that we had been talking about, right? And I'll express it here again. Everyone's been talking about the new guys, the young dudes coming in. Not just the Callum Newmans or the Oleg Boltons, but the Reiwa 3 plus Romero, right? The 3+1. That this was their year, so on and so forth, right? And that the idea that they're getting rid of all of the dead weight from the past few G1s is a sign that on one end of their commitment to, trying to put new guys over, but also has this second purpose of ringing an alarm bell for dudes who might suddenly feel who were quote unquote established, but might feel that their spots are in danger, that they need themselves to show up in this G1 so that management will see that they're worthwhile. I would argue that David Finlay is one of those guys, and he's been turning up. This is an A block recap, so we'll keep it to A block. Great O-Khan so far, I think, has been tremendous, and I think this is my favorite Great O-Khan match in quite a while. I think I liked it more than the Moxley match that he had, when they're fighting all around the building, because he's showing up and he's working. He's got his boots on, and you can tell like he's pulling moves. He's pulling out his submission techniques. He's mixing it up. He's not just standing around slapping on a hold, doing the Mongolian chops, doing his thing where he hasn't done yet the thing where he sits in the corner on top of a dude, right? Which is bear with me, allow me the expression, a sports entertainment spot, right? It's something for the crowd, right? But he hasn't done it, which to me shows just how serious he's taking this. He's really turning it up this tournament, and I could not be more thrilled. I want more guys to feel like this. Like your spots, I don't want to sound like like I'm above all of this, but to a degree, okay, let me phrase it this way. I think wrestling is more interesting and always ends up being better for fans when wrestlers feel their spots are in danger. When wrestlers feel or when wrestlers feel that they have to fight for their spots. Maybe not in danger, but they have something to prove. There's that, the fans benefit immediately. This was really good. I thought this was tremendous. Pumping bomber by Shingo and a superplex as well. And they have, because don't forget, he is wrestling Shingo Takagi, right? Who's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. And so, you'd be hard pressed, to get a stinker out of Shingo. Phrasing. But, nonetheless, he was, outside of wrestling with Shingo, this did not feel like a Shingo carry job in any way, shape, or form. I think Shingo went along with it. I think there were moments that you could tell Great-O-Khan was dictating the pace, and I thought it was tremendous. I thought this was really 3 3/4 stars for this, with Shingo ending the match with the pumping bomber and holding on to the neck for the win, which still tells you in which lane Great-O-Khan is. Or at least, but no, he's not in Shingo's lane. He's still a guy that Shingo can beat with a tertiary finisher. What's fourth after tertiary? What is it? Is it fourth tertiary? No, that's not it. And we've seen Shingo beat guys with this before. But like if he had been wrestling Naito, if he had been wrestling I don't know. Who else is in this tournament? Maybe even some of the, Jeff Cobb, I don't think he'd be able to put him away with that, Zach. It's tremendous. Like a great, a really, really good match once again. Very good. 3 3/4. Gets another 2 points on the board for Shingo, who is now at 4. Gabe Kidd defeated Shota Umino. I love this match. What do you want from me? Like this was tremendous, and there's been so many rumors and whispers that Gabe Kidd and Shota, Gabe Kidd, did I say Gabe King? Gabe Kidd and Shota really don't like each other backstage. Like there is like legitimate heat between the two. So again, this is the kind of stuff that makes that is beneficial for fans. This is the kind of stuff that makes it more exciting for someone like me, because I was excited about this match. Gabe Kidd on night 2 cut a scathing promo right into the camera, right? We're basically saying, saying the quiet parts out loud, keeping it kayfabe to a degree. And then he gets to the ring, and both these guys, they just deliver, and they're going hard, and they're doing drop kicks and backdrop suplexes, and they trade moves on each other, and you get the ignition, and Gabe Kidd is striking, but they're at some point, they're stiffing each other hard. Jeez, there's this moment where Kid and Umino, they're trading forearms, and there's a little more gas to that, right? There's a little more oomph to all of it. When they do the open hand slaps, it's like, you can tell. The Kid bleeds hard way on this one, or bleeds from the mouth. This was a stiff one, folks. How can you not be into this stuff? I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm going, hell yeah, baby, it's the G1. Air it all out. Y'all don't love it. Y'all don't like each other. That's great. It's to my entertainment. I thought this was tremendous. I went 4 stars on this. Where Gabe Kidd, and I love the finish. I absolutely adored the finish. Where he leans into a lion tamer and does it proper. Gets the knee square in the lower back. Now, this, of course, is playing off Shota Umino's injury regarding his lower back, the slip disc and the hips, right? And he's just like, He just drives it in there, and Shota's in pain, and I told you they were going to lean into this story. This was going to be Shota's story. Yeah, I still go back and listen to my audio. I am still dubious in regards to these slip disc things. A couple of years ago, Kazuchika Okada was running around telling people he had a slip disc and was wrestling anyway. Then all of a sudden one day he stopped wrestling like he had a slip disc and started wrestling like the Rainmaker again. So I'm just dubious about this stuff. I went through all of this. We're not doing it again. But the point is that this was established as a reason why Umino might not make it too far in the G1. That he might not score as many points as the other 3 because he had these severe injuries, right? And Gabe Kidd, what does he do? He's going to take advantage of it. He doesn't like the guy. And ends it with a gut wrench power bomb. It's not even his finisher. Like, tremendous stuff. What are we doing? He does the lion tamer, keeps Umino in there long enough so that when he releases it and does the gut wrench, it's enough to put him away. That's the story we're telling. That Umino's back is shot. And Gabe Kidd exploited those injuries. 4 stars. This I thought was tremendous. And Gabe Kidd's work so far. You want to talk about some MVPs of the tournament so far? I got Gabe Kidd and I've got Dave Finlay on that list. Dave Finlay! But that's a B-block talking point. Let's bring that back in 2 days when we come back for night 4, right? Because as it stands right now, Gabe Kidd has been tremendous. And I know he's off-putting to a lot of people. I have always liked his War Dogs run. I keep saying the same reasons why over and over again, but they bear being repeated. He brought a passion and an energy to this company ever since the War Dogs started up that seldom others were bringing. Where everything felt very cold, and I mean cold like, frosty, not cold as in the promotion is cold or that wrestlers. I'm talking like in attitude, very distant, lack of connection. Gabe Kidd was out there throwing stuff around, trying to light a fuse under the audience and his opponents and whatnot. And I know trust me, I know some people just aren't into him. This ruled. 4 stars. And then it all came crashing down. Evil defeated Sonata. And, imagine in your head what a 2024 Evil versus Sonata match might sound like, might look like. And that's what you get. This is what it is. It's exactly what you think it is. And, you know, they do the whole shtick with Sonata at first, you know, giving him giving him a t-shirt and, you know, saying, do you want to join House of Torch? And Sonata says yes. And no one is buying this. No one is going, oh yeah, my goodness. Oh. It's shtick, you know? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This did nothing for me. They go to the floor and, you know, they do the timekeeper table spot, and then there's ref bumps and low blows are traded. You know the drill. You know how this went. You know exactly how this went. You know exactly how this finished. You know. Sonata was stale bread. Sonata standing there, you know, doing his thing. Virtually no reactions, and Evil just doing bullshit. And it's frustrating. It's doubly frustrating when you have Evil, right? Just a couple of nights ago, fighting Gabe Kidd in a match that I loved, that I gave 4 1/4 star to. Him and Gabe Kidd are going at it, and you're seeing big bruiser brawler Evil, you know, from back in the day, making a comeback, and you're like, you know what? Evil can be good. Evil, that's a weird thing. If you clip that completely out of context, that really sounds weird. But the pro wrestler Evil, you know, Takaki Watanabe, right? That's his name. I was trying to think about it. I was like, wait, I know his name. Takaki Watanabe, Evil, it can be good at pro wrestling. That's the frustrating part of this all. But this was exactly what you thought it was. It was uninspired and derivative and boring. And I got 2 3/4 stars for you on that. Because still well worked. That's the thing. But nothing. I got nothing for you. Made nothing for me. 18 minutes. It was the longest match on the show. 18 minutes. When I was more fulfilled watching Konosuke Takeshita and Jeff Cobb in a little 10-minute affair at the start of the show, dropping each other on their heads. I had to sit through 18 minutes of drywall Sonata and, you know, Evil doing shenanigans. Come on now. Couldn't get any worse, right? Well, Tetsuya Naito defeated Jake Lee. And this was probably worse than I imagined. This was probably worse than I thought it was going to be. Which is shocking to me. Because I thought Naito would have these brilliant hope spots. The structure in and about itself is kind of what I figured. At the, what was the match? Was it at the All Together show? The last one? The one where they did the tag team bit, right? And Naito just completely, like, made a mockery out of Jake Lee in that match, right? So you look at the match after and you're like, oh, okay, well, Jake Lee's going to get his win back, right? This is inevitable. Like, you can't let this happen without, you know, someone ringing the bell and going, no, without someone, you know, raising the alarm is what I'm trying to say, and saying, hey, this can't happen if, this can't happen like this if Jake Lee is not going to get his win back. And I was expecting Jake Lee to get his win back. I guess he's getting it back during the playoffs. Oh yeah, you heard me. But anyway, in regards to this match, since I was expecting Jake Lee to win or whatever, I was expecting Jake Lee to have long heat periods, because that's what he's best at. These long, uninspiring, grab a move, grab a hold, is what I meant to say. Grab a hold heat periods where Naito then afterwards would have like these inspired comebacks, right? Because it's Tetsuya Naito, the crowd would be up on their feet, everyone would be going nuts. But the comebacks that we did get were just so like just splurts, just like, water falling on the ground, just like splashing. And you look at not water, like what's a liquid you really like to drink? Let's use a proper comparison here. Let's say, a nice Pinot Gris, or a glass of Mountain Dew, or a root beer, or, maybe you just like a good old fashioned glass of milk, right? And you watch it just like, it tip over and fall to the ground, and you just see it like splash on the floor, and you're like, oh, this is not what I was hoping, right? Well, this was it here. Like, Naito did two Destino things. I don't even know if they're legit Destinos. Like, I don't even know anymore. But he does two in this match, and they're both terrible. And what was I saying? Just like, was it on night 2 where I was sitting here saying, Naito has to retire this. He should move on to another finisher. I was talking about this 2 nights ago. And he continues to make a case for me. He does 2 of them, finishes the match with one, with the most half-assed, just disaster Destino. Not even a full one. Like, I don't know. Walker Stewart calls it a Destino, and, they count the 3 on it. I'm like, the hell was that? I don't want this to be the talking point of the entire G1 every time I'm sitting down to review a Tetsuya Naito match. Because y'all are going to get really fed up about it. I'm going to get tired about talking about it, because I won't be able to add anything. I'll just be saying the same thing. It's like I talked about 2 nights ago. It's like I talked about on night 2. That's all I'm going to be able to say. That's my impression of myself, by the way. Like, I don't want this. I don't want this to be what I talk about when in regards to Tetsuya Naito. I understand why he's in the tournament. He's the champion, but on top of that, he's the most popular star in the company right now. He is the draw. Okay? If you're not familiar with Japanese pro wrestling, New Japan specifically, Tetsuya Naito is the most popular guy in the company, bar none, and has been for years. So in an environment where they're rebuilding, trying to bring up new guys, who are they supposed to turn to fill up houses? We saw what happened with Tetsuya Naito in the main event on night 1 versus Tetsuya Naito not in the main event on night 2. We saw the difference in the attendance. There were 2,000 people less in the building. 2,000 less people in the building on night 2 as opposed to night 1. Preposterous. It's ridiculous. And Jake Lee, man, it just continues to baffle me. I don't get it. I don't understand. This will also, this is also something I don't want to talk about. Every time there's a Jake Lee match, I'm already exhausted. Going like, I don't know what he's got. Failing upward. I don't get it. I don't know what they see in him. But this guy is not a main event guy. This is not a guy that you go and throw into the Tokyo Dome at the, to wrap up a Wrestle Kingdom. You don't. This is disastrous stuff. such a long, boring heat segment where he spends most of the time working the crowd. Like, I get it, you have to work the crowd, but to a degree. And he's doing his maestro thing. I don't even understand. I don't understand anything. And I've never understood. He's some kind of maestro and, he's conducting music. What is he doing? I don't understand. He makes me upset. And he does this. Did you see it at some point? Like, he's standing atop a fallen Tetsuya Naito and he extends his arms and he does like this super villain laugh, right? And he's got his whole torso working at it, right? Like a fucking anime villain, like literally like an anime villain. And it's all going, ha, 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 ha. Like no one laughs with their shoulders going up and down the way you're doing right now. And he knocks his head back like he's, like he's an anime supervillain. Like not even Doctor Doom does that. It's, I can't tell you guys and gals and non-binary pals how frustrating this match was to watch. How dull of a main event it was. Technique was there. A story was being told. Like, it's not a complete wash. But you've got Tetsuya Naito, flubbing his finisher twice in this, and Jake Lee cannot pick up the slack. He just can't. What a weird hire. And on top of that, it makes it even weirder that this guy is part of the War Dogs. I do not understand. I don't get it. He stinks. 2.25 stars for this one. Tetsuya Naito gets his first 2 points and he's on the board. Awful stuff. Forgettable. As far as recommendations go, well, look, I think it's pretty clear, if you've been paying attention, class, that Shota Umino versus Gabe Kidd is worth your time. And I would even go with Jeff Cobb and Konosuke Takeshita. It's sub 10 minutes. No, it is 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 18 seconds. And just a great little time. Two fantastic wrestlers. That's what I highly recommend. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, you could throw in Shingo and Great Okan, which I thought was a blast. Everything else, you can... Like, there's 3 out of these 6 matches that I think... There's 2 out of these 6 matches that you should hunker down and watch, I think. And you could throw in Shingo and Great Okan in that. That's what I think you should be watching. As I've been recording here, we got the attendance. Yes, sir. We had the attendance for Hiroshima that came out. That's why I didn't talk about it at first. It wasn't available. Now it is 1,972 people there for night 3 of the G1 Climax. You want some comparisons? New Japan for the Climax for the G1. See, no one says the Climax, and they did it again. Maybe I'll create a thing. For the G1 they were in Hiroshima last year at the Sun Plaza, but much later on was for night 12. We were in August at this point, but attendance was 2,006. So we're in the same vicinity. That's fine. Otherwise, if you want another type of comparison, if we want to compare night for night, last year, night 3 was in the Yamagata Sports Center in Sakata, Yamagata, Japan. They drew 1,239 people there. So, you would, I'd consider this satisfactory. It's a little similar to the last time they came in Hiroshima, but definitely better attendance, like night 3 for night 3 as opposed to last year. The Sun Plaza, I think the attendance is like the capacity is like 6,000 or something like that. So we're getting there slowly but surely. I'm telling you, you can't underscore how bad the Puro companies were hit by the pandemic. Anyway, not getting into that right now. So let's take a look at the standings, shall we? What do we got here? We got standings. There we go. We got them. We got them at the right place now. Block A has Evil and Zack Sabre Jr. at the top with 6 points. Shingo Takagi, Gabe Kidd, Jake Lee. No, Shingo Takagi and Gabe Kidd are tied for second at 4 points apiece. Jake Lee, Callum Newman, Sanada, Shota Umino, and Tetsuya Naito all are there at 2 points. And Great Khan still hasn't entered the conversation as far as points go. So he's still at 0 down at the bottom there. Might as well take a quick look at Block B, just because we do have our complete standings now that the missing match from 2 nights ago has been done. So Yuya Uemura, Konosuke Takeshita, and Hinare are all up there at 4 points apiece, all at the top. Struggling for second place, well, Yota Tsuji, Ren Narita, Oleg Boltin, Jeff Cobb are all there. And Hiroki Goto, El Phantasmo, and Dave Finlay all still with the goose egg. But that may change. That may change in 2 nights from now, right on July 25th. So this upcoming Thursday, which is when we will reconvene at the Kagawa Sunmess Arena or venue. Maybe I wouldn't call it an arena. That might have been a little presumptuous on my part. That's when we'll get back together for some B block action. Hiroki Goto will be taking on Oleg Boltin. Jeff Cobb will be taking on Ren Narita. El Phantasmo against Yota Tsuji. I would expect Tsuji to get a win here. Well, even on commentary today, El Phantasmo's leaning into the I'm so sad, my friend has left me kind of thing. And like I said, on my night 2 review, I'm okay with El Phantasmo, doing this as long as it's not the entirety of the tournament, right? If you're in a tournament to lock in a spot at the biggest show in Japan, and you're gonna mope through it because your friend went away to wrestle in a warehouse. Let's get real here, Hinare versus Dave Finlay, which I'm really excited for this. I think this is one that y'all should be circling. This will probably be very good. And the main event, Yuya Uemura versus Konosuke Takeshita. I was getting into a beatbox routine there for a second. Yuya Uemura versus Konosuke Takeshita. There's another one you should be circling. I think that's going to be tremendous. Very interesting main event. Looking like a pretty solid night, if you ask me, as far as the top of the card. That being said, let's get right to it. We were at the Sunmess Kagawa in Takamatsu, Kagawa, Japan. I do not have the attendance. I literally just refreshed. As I popped in here. As I was saying, I do not have the attendance numbers. I just refreshed the file, and boom, there it is. The internet, man, it's magic. It's magic, and can make it so that you look like a fool. And you sort of roll with it. What do we got as far as attendance goes? 1,219 is registered for the attendance for the show. It's a difficult comparison to check out. Looking it up here, I believe that this is the first time New Japan runs this venue. I feel like not, But you know, going through this database, and going through these notes here, it would seem that this would be. Or I think there's something. I think there might be a wee glitch. Because I feel I've seen this venue. I feel I've seen this venue before, but look, doing my little investigation here, real quick. It would appear, and yeah, feel free to prove me wrong, because I'm not super confident in that regard, but feel free to prove me wrong. But I believe this is New Japan's first show in this venue. You know, someone was telling me recently that there's a lot of venues in Japan right now, or at least classic, you know, pro wrestling venues that are under renovations, or you know, that are under renovations and stuff like that. So like Otis City, for instance, is, you know, a fairly well known and popular venue among wrestling promotions, and that one is currently like closed for renovations and stuff like this. So look, you know, it is what it is. If we compare to last year, let's say night for night, night 4 of the Climax 33, which was in Sendai, 1,657 people showed up. So we're in the same vicinity as far as we're in the same vicinity as far as attendance goes. It's not, you know, it's obviously lower, but you know, nothing completely out of the ordinary. Yeah, there you go. So it's really weird, because I really feel like New Japan has been here before, and I can't get it out of my head. I just can't get it out of my head. Like, I know they use the gym there. They use the Takamatsu City gym, and they used it this year for a Fantastica Mania event. And see, last year, last year they were in Takamatsu. Maybe this is why it's not connecting with me, because they were in Takamatsu Kagawa last year, or Kagawa Takamatsu, depending on. I'm not quite sure how, you know, which goes first in these circumstances. But they did night 11 of the G1 last year in the same city, but in the Takamatsu City gym. And that drew 1,559 people, but that was like night 11, you know, we're further down the track there. So, you know, interesting. Yeah, the Sunmiss Kagawa, Takamatsu Kagawa. Your guess is as good as mine at this point. I'll just drop it. See, I told you this wouldn't be too long, but I'm, you know, unconsciously stretching this out. This is how my brain operates. Let's go with the results. Of course, per usual, we're not gonna focus on the undercard matches, the tag matches. You can go check those out if you want. But as far as the B block matches go, Hiroki Goto defeated Oleg Boltin. Ren Narita defeated Jeff Cobb. El Fantasmo defeated Yota Tsuji. Dave Finlay defeated Hinare, and Yuya Uemura beat Konosuke Takeshita. I just realized on Cage Match, they still have him as Oleg Boltin, but New Japan refers to him as Boltin Oleg. No, this is so confusing, because I feel it works both ways. You could call the guy Oleg Boltin, and to a degree, I feel that fits him better. You know, that his first name is Oleg. It kind of works, right? But they refer to him as Bolton Oleg. Well, look, let's start with that match where Hiroki Goto defeated him. You know, it's kind of what you expected. Big power showing by Bolton. Oleg, you know, as expected, and you know, Hiroki Goto's going toe to toe with him, but once again, I feel like he's giving a lot. We talked about this yesterday when it came to Callum Newman, and you know, when it comes to Zack Sabre Jr. as well, I feel like Goto did give a lot here. He's going toe to toe with Oleg, so that's good. You know, he also does the gut wrench swings as well, and Goto hits a Nurigoroshi, Oleg hits a Vader bomb, big fireman's carry slam by Oleg as well. We get into some near falls and the GTR for the win. I gave this an even 3 stars. I thought, you know, really well worked, strong stuff. Just missed pizzazz. We also gotta say, we're gonna bring this up here. The Sunmes Kagawa audience, not the most dynamic, not the most dynamic group on planet Earth. It's not the most exciting. They were kind of on their hands for most of this show. We're just gonna put that out there. Next we had Ren Narita defeating Jeff Cobb. Narita goes after Cobb before the bell, and they fight right into the audience. Then Cobb gets in control because of this. It's, you know, he's a big dude. Narita avoids the standing moonsault, goes right to Cobb's knees, and he works the knee for the majority of the match. We go back into the crowd, but Narita, he's just working the knee throughout. Cobb fights back with some power moves. The standing moonsault lands, but a knee bar by Narita keeps the pressure on the huge Cobb, who then lands a terrific F5 as well. We get a ref bump. I mean, we were doing so well. I was enjoying this match. And Jeff Cobb does the thing where he's got the push-up bar in his hands and he's not sure he wants to use it, you know. But then, like, just when he decides that he's going to use it, the ref comes to, takes it away from him, which allows Ren Narita to hit the low blow and get the X Factor for the win. So Narita is up on the board for... Well, I forgot to mention, Hiroki Goto got his first 2 points of the tournament, so he's up on the board. And Narita is up there with 4 now. He's got 2 wins to his name, so he's got 4 points now. Fine, good little match. And you know, I'll tell you what I appreciate though about Ren Narita here. It's how little the interference has been overwhelming in his matches, right? He does, you know, some cheat to win stuff. He is a heel and so on and so forth. Okay, I get it, but you know, the parade of nonsense that accompanies most House of Torture matches isn't there, and I can appreciate it. Well, it's another thing for Evil, but you know, particularly in the last match. But when it comes to Narita, look, if this is the worst that is being shoveled out, that's not so bad. I gave this 3 1/4 star, and like we said, Narita has 4 points. Jeff Cobb still at 2. El Fantasmo defeated Yoda Tsuji. So I thought these guys had a strong beginning, going in with some strikes, and I thought it was pretty good. ELP plays the hits, you know, does the body press into the lion salt, does a UFO. So we're in familiar territory here. He dives and to Tsuji, of course, who then, you know, just flies over the barricade into the audience, and then ELP does the springboard dive all the way outside onto the barricades, which is always a great spot. All throughout this, Yoda Tsuji has been working a knee. does a standing cloverleaf. They do a strike exchange, stomp by Yota Tsuji, some back and forth, and another stomp by Tsuji, who does a Falcon Arrow, runs towards ELP and runs right into a sudden death, the super kick, eats the CR2, but ELP's leg gives out, so he can't immediately pin Tsuji, can't cover him, not even just can't pin him, can't cover him in time, so Tsuji kicks out. Thunder Kiss 86 follows, but Tsuji gets his knees up. He rolls up ELP, and they're in a bit of a small package type of situation where ELP balances out from the pinning predicament, still holding on to the package, and sort of, shifts his weight over so that Tsuji's shoulders are pinned to the mat, and he gets the win. I think the angle that we were seeing it from was a little weird, but I think it was very clear that Tsuji's shoulders were on were flat on the mat. So that's the match. I gave this 3.5. I thought this was very good. See, nice little progression in the card. You get 3 and a 3.25, 3.5. That's pretty good. I enjoyed this. I thought this was pretty good. More than pretty good. I thought this was a good match. If just like a match that's happening, there's no oomph, there's no magic to it. There's nothing where you're like, oh shit, kind of thing. It just kind of happened. And I was excited to, I'm excited that, let me rephrase that. I'm hoping now that moving forward, the sad man gimmick that ELP has will be tossed aside, left alone, and no one, that now that he has a win, he'll feel energized and revived, and we don't have, because man, I forgot to mention this. When he did commentary on night 3, was it night 3? I think so. And he was still doing the sad man gimmick. That was kind of a bummer. That was, and I understand, you do the kayfabe thing. Don't get me wrong. I understand it. I just think it's a bummer. Just think it brings stuff down. That's just me, of course. I'm sure some of you enjoyed it tremendously. But look, I had said that I hope that the ELP sad man thing would last, 3 matches. I'd give them 4 tops. And now this was his 3rd match, and now he's got the win. So hopefully we can move on from this and maybe get some proper wins in here. Maybe this will light a fire. I don't know. I wouldn't worry about Yota Tsuji. I think he's got a lot of good things on his way. So ELP scores his first 2 points of the tournament. Tsuji still at 2. Dave Finlay defeated Hinare. Strong physical match. Finlay is in control here, and he's in control for most of this match here. Does the Irish Curse backbreaker. Hinare's doing he's getting the hope spots, but Finlay has an answer for everything. He always seems to just have the upper hand. They trade some strikes. A dominator by Finlay, who also blocks a flying knee and reverses it into a power bomb, which was great. A rampage by Hinare, but Finlay lifts him into the overkill and gets the win. Dominant showing by Dave Finlay here, who I feel was in the driver's seat. This was a Dave Finlay match, and made sure that he was able to quell all of the explosiveness, the fierceness that Hinare has. He did a great job doing specifically that. I thought it was convincing. Maybe not, I give this match 3.25 stars, which I feel right now this is Dave Finlay's least interesting match of the tournament so far. Still fine. I am not here saying that this was a bad match, but it is the least interesting that he's had so far. I feel the 2 previous nights that he's had were tremendous showings. Here, maybe not as. I don't think it was as. I don't think it was as sharp. I don't think it was as good. I don't think his strength was really put on display. So I mean, this was fine, but I feel we could have got a little more life out of this one. Weird, right? That was my feeling coming into this one. So Finlay scores his first 2 points, and I don't think he's going to lose another match. I think he's going to stay in this conversation from this point on, seeing how they, seeing how he was booked the first 2 nights, and looking at what's happening here. They love David Finlay. They perceive Finlay as a top guy. So don't you worry. He's not out of the conversation, and he's going to stay right there till the very end. So yeah, I mean, there you go. That was a match that happened. And the final match, Dave Finlay scores his first 2 points, and Nare still at 4. And then the main event, Yuya Uemura defeated Konosuke Takeshita in a tremendous main event. This was a blast. Just 2 guys doing moves, doing great power moves, and continuing to make this, to help Yuya develop this crowd connection. And I can't help but feel like if he were in a group that didn't include Sonata, I mean, look, that's unfair because there's Taichi in there who knows how to develop a crowd connection and can absolutely give him tips, pointers, coach him, whatever. I feel like this guy could flourish even more. And it's wild to me that he's getting the push he's getting. And this is his debut G1, where generally, booking is a lot more conservative when it comes to people coming in with their first G1s, where it's like, well, you're going to lose some matches. You're going to lose most of your matches, but next year you're going to win a little more, so on and so forth. Now, not only is he having a great tournament so far as in-ring quality, he's beating some of the top guys in the block. But look, I'm getting ahead of myself. Like I said, moves, big moves, power. It's kind of what you expected here. Uemura does a plancha into does a plancha, right? But he lands on the floor right into a straight right by Takeshita, who follows it up with a great vertical brainbuster, like a tremendous brainbuster right on the floor. He then follows up with a diving senton and a huge running knee. Uemura does a flying forearm and huge superplex by Takeshita. And those are always just so impressive. Tope con Hilo follows. Uemura suckers Takeshita into hitting the post, and that weakens the arm. He had already had some issues with his arm early in the match, but this strengthened them. So he goes after it a little bit, crossbody into a cross arm breaker by Uemura, poison Rana by Takeshita, and then you have this fun little sequence here where Uemura hits a German, Konosuke hits a lariat, followed by a drop kick by Uemura, and both guys are down. Just tremendous stuff. Just in sequence, boom, boom, boom. Blue Thunderbomb by Takeshita, Dragon Suplex by Uemura, Rana roll up by Uemura, which is how commentary underscored it, which is how he defeated Dave Finlay, that's how he defeated Dave Finlay a couple of nights ago. Big German suplex by Takeshita, and then we get into a backslide situation. with two guys, and Yumera holds on to the backslide and performs the deadbolt suplex. And commentary was putting over, how are you going to be able to lift a guy the size of Konosuke Takeshita, etc., etc. And when he did, it was just tremendous. And it was kind of out of nowhere. I don't think anyone really saw it coming, but it was tremendous. And I think what was interesting, Yumera did work the arm a little bit, but he didn't specifically focus on a body part. I thought he got a lot of offense here. He and Takeshita worked really well, and they were just dropping each other and throwing bombs. And I thought it was tremendous. I thought that, this is one of the kinds of matches I really, really, really like. I don't want to say this is the kind of match. It's one of them. There's anyway. It's not a review on your tastes, Warren. It's a review on this show. And yeah, look, overall, good match. The best match of the night, unquestionably. Yumera now is at 6 points, and Takeshita is at 4. And like I said, Yumera right now is riding high. He has been having a tremendous G1 so far. And he just, like I was starting to get into earlier, but we're, now that we talked about the results, we can maybe, dig a little under the surface here. Yumera has, he's probably got the worst, or technically the hardest wins he could get of the tournament are done, right? He defeated Dave Finlay. However you feel about Dave Finlay, he is seen as a top guy in the company. He's pushed as a top guy. He's the global champion. Don't get your signals crossed. He's seen as a top guy. So he was someone which I personally didn't necessarily think Yumera was going to defeat, but ended up doing that. And he defeated Takeshita. So who's left in B block that legitimately you could be like, oh, this person poses a real threat to Yumera. I don't know, maybe he won't overcome this. Tsuji, maybe, because of their rivalry. They've got they've got a personal side story going there. So maybe, Jeff Cobb, maybe, again, big maybe. If anything, you get Yumera into this situation to pin the champion so that he can claim a World TV title shot when all this is done. Henare, again, maybe. Phantasmo, maybe. Narita, probably not. Bolton, no. There's nothing here that screams to me, oh yeah, if he wins here, it's an upset. Oh, this is an uphill battle. I feel like the worst of his tournament is out of the way. That being said, there's a lot of volatility because we don't know, because of all the young guys in the tournament, right? Who are all jockeying to find a spot here, to keep their spots in the company in the future G1s and so on and so forth. It goes beyond just winning this year. So maybe, just maybe, look, maybe this is, he'll have one loss. Maybe this is Yuya's year and none of us saw it coming. But now that he's in it, you're like, holy shit, this rules. He's been tremendous so far. He's been the most consistent wrestler of the tournament. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt so far. But like I said, because of everything being so volatile that you don't have, let's say, a Tanahashi, an Okada, an Ospreay, where these are centerpieces, where these are people where you're like, oh, or an Omega or an Ibushi, these people that were in previous iterations where if you were a younger guy, you were like, he's got all these people lined up, still his tournament is, he's going to have a rough go still. I don't know. I don't feel like it's so clear cut. Again, it just could be very volatile still. He could trade losses with, or he could lose, I should say, to Hinare and Phantasmo. But right now, if you look at this objectively, it really seems that the worst of his tournament is out of the way. So as far as recommendations go, well, I think it's pretty clear. Watch Takeshita and Yumera. I think Yumera has been must watch so far. I don't think there has been a night that I haven't recommended Yuya. Right. So go enjoy that. But otherwise, I would, if you were even to listen to my review here and say, I think I'll just skip it, I completely understand as well. There was nothing here that blew my mind. There's nothing here. It wasn't a top to bottom compelling show. We've had better shows already in this tournament. Are we already getting into the dog days of the tournament? Hopefully not. I sure hope not. It's a little early for that. Yeah, I mean, that one match. Otherwise, you can really skip the rest. So as far as standings go, for the tournament, or at least for Block B so far, look, Yuya Uemura is the only guy at the top with 6 points. Tied for second are Konosuke Takeshita, Hinare, Ren Narita. All three of those guys have 4 points. And then everyone else has 2 points, meaning Yota Tsuji, Oleg Bolton, Jeff Cobb, Hiroki Goto, El Phantasmo, Dave Finlay. If you listen to my preview that I did with Chris Samsa, we both agreed that B block had the most potential to be the block where there would be a logjam at the top. And I feel like this is where we're heading, where you're going to have multiple guys being in this position, being in a position where they could still be in the conversation and qualify till the very last minute when we start talking about wackadoo scenarios. But we are absolutely not there yet. It is way too soon in the tournament. But yeah, right now there's one guy who is at the top, and that is Yuya Uemura, who is having a great tournament so far. I think he's been very good. So next time, we are going to be doing this again on July 27th, this Saturday. So another day off. Tomorrow, Friday, then we're back on Saturday with A block action, where we are going to have Shingo Takagi versus Callum Newman, Sanada versus Gabe Kidd, Shota Umino versus Great Okan, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jake Lee. If Zack Sabre Jr. gets a good match out of Jake Lee, then you know that he's the guy to belt up and make champion, right? He's the guy. And Tetsuya Naito versus Evil might not be on paper the most compelling night of G1 action, that being night 5, but we'll be here. We will be back to review and recap everything on Saturday and see how exciting all of this turns out to be. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone for watching, for listening. One more pitch for a like or review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify would be tremendous. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.